On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick have a huge load of Star Wars content to spew at you thanks to the arrival of Tales of the Jedi, and of course everyone's favorite tourist, Keith Gergo. They'll start by taking a deep dive into Andor EP.8 Narkina 5 by breaking it down and letting you know what you need to know. They'll then get into a full breakdown of Tales of the Jedi Season 1, so prepare for episode rankings and highlights from the prequels. That's not all though, because they have some news and rumors to discuss about Skeleton Crew and The Mandalorian. Of course, the show will end with Question of the Week responses and the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars Fan Artist Features. Punch it, Chewie!
Don't worry, we're coming. Here we are.
We're almost there. We just talked about everything.
Everybody, we just had a show before the show. That's how we do it. All the greats do it. You've heard it. If you listen to Howard Stern, he always has a show before the show. The wrap-up show with Baba Booey, they do the same thing. That's where the magic happens, because why would we want you all to partake or to hear the show before the show? All right, that's some
this
of our
is a
best
show for two.
That's some of our best content, and maybe because Instagram keeps shooting it in my face every time I log in. Hey, you want to start using subscriptions? Maybe we'll start setting up a sub just for the show before the show. You never know.
Yeah.
All right, my friends. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the SWTS, because there is always time for Star Wars time, at least for these two guys right here that you're listening to or watching if you are in the live stream audience. If you're not, what the hell's your problem? We'll give you the details every Tuesday, 2:30 or as close as we can get on YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. And we should have our official YouTube handle soon, Nick. I don't know. Are you getting blasted with all, like, in your social media job life? Are your clients like, hey, Nick, I keep getting these emails from YouTube about choosing handles for my channel? Or is that nothing that comes up on your radar?
Because I'm mostly e-commerce, we don't really deal with YouTube that much. The only thing that we have to do with YouTube is like if we're running like YouTube ads or something, but we don't do YouTube. I think we already have our handle. We already have youtube.com/Star Wars Time.
I know. Well, now I guess we have to make it official. So when it's our turn to go, I'm going to hit the go button.
Official.
Or we could change, like, do you want to change it to like 2 fuck faces or, 2 dummies talk Star Wars, something like that. I don't know. But I think Star Wars Time Show will work. Either way, you can find us Tuesdays, 2:30 or as close as we can get. Today, we definitely missed the mark, and we had a horrendous transition, but that's why people tune in. They like to see the train wreck. It used to be much worse. Our tech has gotten a little bit better, but I think this time last year, for about 8 months straight, Nick would just randomly drop out at least 2 times a show. Before that, we had my mic would just stop working and crash stuff. But we're here, and we are ready to talk all things Star Wars. And yes, those that are in the live stream chat, Black Series Clips already saying demanding a 4-hour show today to get through all the content. And I doubt we go 4 hours, maybe 3, close to 2.5 as we can get. But yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars to talk, because we got Andor EP.8, Narkina 5. to do the now patented, rarely copied Star Wars Time Show review and deep dive. So we got that coming at you. Tales of the Jedi dropped last week. You heard me lamenting that I am not a fan of Star Wars double content drop days. And while Tales of the Jedi was pretty fucking excellent and worth the extra Star Wars work time last week, I can confirm having multiple new Star Wars drop on the same day is not good for my health. Okay?
Yeah.
Just not good for my health. Yesterday, I think, or last week on Wednesday, I even built into my real life schedule because I knew it was going to be a busier Star Wars day. I lectured. Right after lecturing, went into Tales. Right after watching it, started breaking them down. By the time I was done, it was 6:45 at night. So I started my Star Wars day at 5 in the morning. It ended at 6:30 at night with a nice little bonus of getting my flu and COVID shot. So I ensured that I was going to feel like shit by Thursday. So last week was a fun week, but we got all sorts of Star Wars to unpack for you. Nick and I, we were just popping little chubbies talking about Tales of the Jedi. I can already sense that he's kind of in line with me in terms of the Dooku content and what that could have meant for the prequels if George would have included those stories back in 99 when The Phantom Menace released. He was telling me his favorite episode. So we got all that stuff to talk about. It's going to be a fun day full of Star Wars. But that means, for you pop culture lovers out there, that Pop Culture Talk, the segment that we usually open the show with, is going to be cut very short. In fact, Nick, I just want to leave it at this. I know I gave us some homework to do, so I do want to check in on that. But the show we were supposed to check out to fill the void of She-Hulk and Rings of Power, and for me, House of the Dragon, all falling off of the BoobTube menu. Yes. We committed to checking out the Peripheral on Amazon Prime, starring Chloe Grace Moretz and what's the other guy, Jack Rayner, I believe, or John Rayner, something Rayner. I can't tell if he has cross eyes or not, but I can tell that the show, The Peripheral. Now we've seen the first 2 episodes. We have not seen episode 3. But just like The Intern, and I forget his expert use of slang talking about his penis and woodpecker beaks, but I concur in full. I think The Peripheral is just what the doctor ordered, the geek doctor ordered, after losing shows like Rings of Power and, for me, House of the Dragon. I'm digging it. I'm digging the concept. I guess it's based on a book, but let's just say it's near future, but there's possible other futures. There's some VR stuff, and I don't know, Nick. I find it very intriguing. I like where things are going. The wife and I are definitely looped in, locked and loaded, ready for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it was really good. I think the primary story is set, or where you're spending a lot of time, and it is set 10 years from today, or 10. Like
it's like 2033, 32. Yeah. So 10 years from there. But yeah, I mean, we both liked it. Taylor had actually read a book by that same guy, by the author of, but not
this is based on, but not this book. And she said that like he does kind of like to play in this kind of like near future type of realm often, or at least that's what the book that she read was kind of similar in terms of the timeline. So yeah, I mean, it was really good. Totally worth checking out if you have an Amazon Prime membership, free on Prime Video. Really enjoyed the acting angle. It's by the people who made Westworld as well. So if you enjoyed Westworld, you may
good point.
Also like this storytelling. So yeah.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, I'm assuming they adapted the book. So unlike Westworld, where they loosely based it off of a book in a movie. Yeah, this is kind of the same. So I don't know the source material. I don't know if those fans are pissed off or not. But I can tell you, just as a dummy coming into it, someone that doesn't really get down with words and shit, I got sucked right into it. I'd say my wife even more so than me, which should speak volumes about this show's potential. I'm not saying my wife, stares at a wall and drool's coming out of her mouth, but she's not as geeky and into sci-fi and fantasy as myself. And Nick, she was the one actually going, I kind of want to rewatch episode 2 before we watch episode 3. I was like, I don't know about that there, super fan. I do my fanboying for Star Wars. So, yeah.
She definitely, Taylor also was like, after the first episode, I was like, all right, it's decent. But she was the one who was like, let's watch episode 2 next. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, she seemed more into it than I did. So,
yeah, man, I kind of had the same thing over here.
So it's very interesting. So yeah, but it's worth a shot.
Kevin here in the live stream, I thought they confirmed that Westworld was going to get in 5th and final season. I thought that came out, but I'm with you because season 4 actually, I'm not someone that really got sour on Westworld. I've stuck with it throughout. I will admit season 3 was a definite change of pace, and you could get kind of lost. Season 4, I felt, did a good job kind of wrangling things back in and making it feel more like the first season or 2. So I would like to see a final season. I thought that got confirmed, but I could definitely be pulling that out of my ass. Yeah. So
Jonathan Nolan drops hint at New York Comic Con about 5th and final season negotiations. This was in October 8th, so a little bit less than a month ago. So maybe it's not confirmed yet, but he's still in active conversations with the network.
They definitely have another season's worth of story to tell. That was clear enough by the end of season 4. I mean, I guess you could end it and be like, well, hey, you as the viewer can decide where things go. And by the way, I fucking hate that. I think that's a cop-out bullshit way to end a series. And why I still think Breaking Bad and now more recently Better Call Saul are still probably the best TV or series out there, because they actually have a beginning, middle, and a definitive end. I like definitive ends. You know what I mean? I don't want to sit there and have to think like Sopranos, like what really did happen. It's like, just fucking show us. We're too stupid to come up with these stories in the first place, or we'd have them on HBO.
It's true.
Right? Just give us what we need. We're dumb. Hey there, Justin, SW Props. I have to mention Props. He does this con circuit now, Nick. I'm sure you don't. I know you don't dabble in the media, but he's kind of started a company, and he's got, I think, Lauren Mary Kim, Emily Swallow, and he just added the actor that plays Casa from Andor.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we were trying to get him on the show or do some sort of interview this weekend, but he only has him this weekend. My weekend's kind of shot with a little trip and family stuff, but we hopefully down the road might be able to work out some sort of guest spot to get young Casa on here to talk about his time filming those flashbacks on Kenari.
Very
so
cool.
Justin doing things, and Devin there is helping with the promos too. I believe they'll all be out at the Rhode Island Comic-Con this weekend. So if you want to meet young Casa and potentially some of Justin's other clients for some signings, you know what to do. Check them out at SW Props on Insta. Yeah, so I mean, outside of that, pop culture is like blah, blah, blah. Nick, I will admit, and I do want to move on to the Star Wars, but for the first time in a few iterations, I felt the pull to buy a new Call of Duty, like all the other blind following gamers out there that shell out $800 million a year to Activision for Call of Duty. But I've always been a fan of the Modern Warfare franchise. I know this is kind of like a remake or a restyling of Modern Warfare 2, so I hope to be checking that out. I have not bought a Call of Duty game in over a decade. Yeah, and look, I don't blame you. I always, when I was really into gaming media, I did look forward to the yearly Call of Duty campaign and playing that bitch on veteran. Like ever since Call of Duty 2, I felt like it was a real accomplishment in life to beat a Call of Duty game on the veteran difficulty. I don't think I'm going to return to those days of gaming masochism, because I used to get quite animated, might have bit my finger or punched my quad a few times. But it was funny. It's like I don't know if this is just me, and I'm a consumer asshole. Like I'm the person that all corporations want. Because I'm just sitting here, a little bored on a Sunday. Steelers are fucking garbage, so no point in paying attention. and I'm scrolling through my Xbox menu. I'm like, oh, new Call of Duty. Okay, I'll buy it. I just buy it and download it. Haven't even touched it yet. It's like, it's the same shit I used to do with toys. Oh, new toys. Blah, 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 blah. A year later, they show up and I go, oh, what? I bought all this shit. Why do I want this stuff? So.
I'm the same. I mean, if you look behind me, you can see consoles off to the side, and they're unopened.
Yeah,
they're like games still in the plastic wrapper that are PS4 games.
Unbelievable. Yeah, me too, man. And you, I know you too. You might have been. I mean, you were obviously younger, but I used to go 3 or 4 hours early on a like a Monday night to GameStop and wait in line to get fucking games, to run home, rip them open, and play them. Until the crack of dawn. And now it's like
midnight releases. Definitely.
And now, just like toy photography, I almost have to like get myself up, like get fucking motivated. Like, woo, I'm gonna fucking play a game today. Let's go. Woo. Like
I will say, dude, the Steam Deck has been like a game changer for me in terms of my gaming. Like I've almost filled up the entire 1 terabyte of memory that I have between the on deck memory and then the additional memory card. It's almost filled up. I've been playing this game Scarlet Nexus that I mentioned before. I'm like 20 hours into that game, and it's just like, it gives me the ability to sit there, play for 20 minutes, put it down. I'm on my couch. I don't need to worry about like doing long sessions. That game has like save points often, so I can play for 20 minutes, sit it down, and then like basically I've just been like, what's on sale today and what has a green check mark for the deck.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to play it. I just want to spend money. That's what it is. Like, I just want to do it. You know what it is, Nick? It's like, it gives you for a millisecond one feeling of excellence. Like I finally feel good today, and you buy it, and then you're like, okay, I'll probably never play this, but at least
this game, Tato, $5, Steam Deck green check mark.
Yeah, you're
and
like,
I played it for like 2 hours, and I'm like, $5. That's like, I've got my money's worth.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm with you. I'm devolving a bit myself, because I picked up a new iPad, and I was like, you know what? I really miss playing tower defense games.
Oh, dude, I go through those sometimes as well.
I was like, all right, what is the best tower defense game in 2022? And it just pulled up a list. I was like, fuck it all. I think it's like Kingdom something I'm playing. It was like the number one. But I was reminded of like how I just love a good tower defense game. They're not fully mindless, but you can sort of like also watch TV and do other shit as you're setting your defenses and maximizing your this tower or that tower. So I don't know. Dude, I almost installed Plants vs. Zombies, the original, again, because that to me was one of the best, just straight up TD games out there. All right, good stuff. Whew. See everyone, especially you younger fans. Never ends. You'll grow up and be the same asshole that you are now. You may just have more money and free time to be that asshole. You know what I mean? All right. Did you guys do any Halloween shit, or you adults that don't get into that?
We did not do Halloween stuff.
Yeah, I always get yelled at for this time of the year because I don't understand adult Halloween parties. I don't know. Like, I just. And I'm not, and listen, I'm not making fun of it. Like, if you want to do it, go for it. For me, I feel way too awkward. Even knowing that I'm going to go there and just get shit-faced. Like, I don't care. Like, I can get shit-faced in my fucking underwear. I don't need to get all done up. Like, it's like, you know, I mean, I appreciate cosplaying. I like all that shit. But for some reason, post-college, I just have not been down with adult themed Halloween parties.
We did 1 year before, or not year before. We did one last year with like a few of our friends at home. Taylor wasn't here because she was out of town because she was doing like a weightlifting competition. But we typically try to do them, but it's like optional. It's like you can dress up if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. And we just have like a house party. So that's typically how we do it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I sound like an old angry curmudgeon, but I mean that's what I am. I mean, even yesterday, our neighborhood, we did it up. We brought a food truck in, parked it like in front of my driveway, my neighbors. but I walked down, I'm like, fuck. I gotta socialize with people, and this is a Monday night, so I can't like mask my introvertness by having a few drinks, because I don't drink during the week. I can't, or I'll like explode. I'm like that OCD weird with that stuff, and it's just like and there's like some people are dressed up. Hey, where's your costumes? Like, hey, look, I wore an orange fucking hoodie. That's good enough. Look, orange and black pants. I'm a jack-o'-lantern.
I'm in a hunting outfit.
Yeah, I live in Ohio. I'm a fucking hunter. There you go. Good one. Yeah, I should have thought of that. I don't know. I'm just being an angry son of a bitch. But I feel like college should be the cutoff. Even then, it's a little strange.
Do whatever you wear, costumes every day.
That's why I give cosplayers so much respect, because they're like, fuck it. I don't need a holiday, nothing. I'm going to spend my hard-earned money and my time, and I'm going to craft a bitchin' costume and travel to destinations so strangers can gawk at me and take pictures. Like, those people, go for it. If you just do it one time a year for Halloween so you can get shit-faced during the week, then I don't know. Maybe rethink your life. I really sound like an old Catholic person right now. You know what I mean?
Right?
All right.
The Devil's Day.
Exactly. Exactly. I didn't watch any good, I threw on Terrifier just because I heard Richard Christie from the Stern Show talking about it. You ever heard of that? Terrifier with Art the Clown?
No.
Are you into horror movies and slasher gross shit, or not really?
Sometimes, like, Taylor can't really watch a lot of, like, yesterday we watched Scream, the original Scream, because like she can watch that and she realizes that Scream is more of a comedy than it is a horror movie at this point.
Right.
But typically we don't watch a lot of horror movies.
You guys you're not going to throw on like Barbarian on HBO. I mean, no, I highly recommend it, but yeah, that movie is fucking demented. So I did try to get into the season a bit, but I just, sometimes the stuff doesn't, like, I enjoyed Pearl, but I did not think it was remotely as scary as X, which is the sequel to it. All right, I'm getting off track. It's Star Wars time, my friends. There is always time for it. That's why you are here. And we're going to get into the first of our big topics, and that is Andor, Episode 8, Narkina 5. So as we've been doing this session, we used to do eggs first and then review. Now we're doing review and then eggs. So because I've been kind of dominating as usual, I'm going to go ahead and let my man Nick give his thoughts on Narkina 5. So what say you, Nick? Yeah. How did this one move you? The first of a trilogy story arc.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a good first episode for a trilogy arc. I will say that I was surprised. For the most part, I thought it was a decent episode. The parts inside of the prison with Cassian were probably the most interesting to me. Just seeing like the interior workings of the Imperial prison system and basically like how they in some ways it's like complete torture, but then in other ways it's actually like it gives you this sense of productivity where like you want to work harder. Like,
it's an interesting form of slave labor, that's for sure.
It is. Because they're like, look, you can eat as much as you want. The food has no taste, but you can eat as much as you want.
And get taste. If you win, you get taste.
If you win, like they incentivize you to actually work better, to do better work by being like, you'll get more flavor. Maybe you'll get maybe you'll get time off of your sentence and all of these other things. Like it was very interesting to see the inner workings of the prison. And the one thing that I was surprised at is the interaction between Miro and Cyril went completely differently than I thought. I thought that she would want his no. Hey, keep in contact.
He's an annoyance to her. That was funny where she's like, hey, asshole, will you quit logging false requests? Like
false requests and reports. And if you do it again, it won't be me you're talking to. Like,
he is such a tool, though, is he not? Like, you almost have to love how douchey he is at this point.
Yeah. I almost think that because there were two trajectories that Cyril could go on from the last time that we saw him. Like we kind of assumed that he was going to take the trajectory where him and Miro were going to kind of link up and he was going to become a low ranking member of the Imperial Security Force, the ISB perhaps, and then slowly work his way up under Miro. But it went the complete opposite way, where Miro is like, you're an annoyance. And she treats him like everybody else in the ISB treats the people below them. She used him as a stepping stool. Give me the information that I want. Good. Shut the fuck up and never talk to me again. Like, so now I almost think that he may veer off into like...
He's going rogue, right?
He's going to go rogue. And like, he's not going to be a part of this Imperial Security Bureau, or he's going to like break away from the Imperial superstructure almost completely. And like try to go on a solo mission and like get himself killed, or he ends up somehow joining the rebellion. Those are the only two outcomes that I see for him.
Since you brought it up, I do agree that he's going rogue, and I honestly think, Nick, he's going to do enough to almost look like he knows what's doing and might get his guy, but in the end, I think he's going to be the reason that Miro's plan also fails. Like somehow Cyril is going to do enough to look like he's going to get the guy and redeem himself, but he is going to fuck it up at the last minute, which is going to fuck it up for the Empire and probably allow Cassian or Cassian's friends and family to get away with it with another job or another, essentially getting one over on the ISB and the Empire again on Ferrix. I have a feeling that this dude, Dudley Do-Right, I'm gonna clear my name and blah. And just as he's about to do it, just as he's about like, Miro, look, he's gonna fuck something up, and it's like you said, it's either gonna cost him his life, or at that point, the Empire will kill him.
Like,
the Empire
trip
will
over a fucking
exactly.
He's gonna like trip over something and like hit the prisoner release button. And everybody gets out of the prison.
Everyone starts. All the prisoners get out, and then he also like trips landmines where the Empire's standing. I mean, it's gonna be like a Wile E. Coyote moment where you think he's finally gonna get the Roadrunner, but he's gonna do something stupid that costs him everything once again. So, all right, go ahead. Yeah. I just wanted to jump in on that when you were in on that.
But yeah, I mean, I think that has been like, that's been interesting following Cyril's journey. I know that we kind of thought that it stalled out for a couple episodes there, but I think it's picked up in an interesting way. And overall, it was like, I think the other interesting part was in like within the party, just hearing the chatter, like hearing all of the higher ups and the different people in political factions and stuff like that talking about like Palpatine, and they're like, oh well, we need this type of order, and then just like hearing all of like the back and forth about the current political climate and Palpatine and his temperament and everything about that, like just kind of getting more into the minutia of the universe and how people within the Imperial Senate are thinking about like the actions that are being taken and stuff. And
order is a big thing in Star Wars, and really here. And order in Star Wars has always been under the guise of dictatorship, fascism. I mean, that's kind of, and you can literally draw through lines to modern human society right now with Andor politics. I mean, it's like dead nuts on. You have a faction that believes everything will be okay if there is order and control, and then you have a faction that still believes in democracy and freedom, and there we go. Those of you that still haven't figured it out, the rebels are the good guys. They like democracy. The Empire, they're the bad guys. They like dictatorships. Okay, it's not that hard to figure out. For you Star Wars fans that like try to, or even comic book fans that try to attach heroes to certain parties or political leaders, you're fucking wrong. We're freedom fighters here, people, not fascists. All right, so here's my deal on this episode. I'll be frank. Least favorite so far. Now, does that,
I can see that.
Does that mean it's bad? Absolutely not. Does that mean it's filler? Absolutely not. I've told you many years ago, many episodes ago, there is no such thing as Star Wars filler. It's your problem. Like, if you can't understand what's happening in a slower episode or a more dialogue-heavy episode, it's something wrong with your brains, okay? So, it was my least favorite, Nick, and I think the reason for me, unlike the previous 7 episodes, and I don't know why, I didn't experience a single iota of tension. There was no nerves for me, no tension, no anxiety, no sitting on the edge of my seat. It was very much, I was just sitting there processing, listening, and watching. And it was still all great. Same great writing. You could see how this episode was setting things up for 9 and 10 to kind of wrap it all up and bring it home. But it just, for me, lacked that feeling of almost constant dread that I've experienced in episodes 1 through 7. So I enjoyed getting deeper into the Empire and the machines of the Empire. Like Nick, I think seeing the prison was awesome, and seeing prison life and how the prisoners were reacting to the PROD, and them realizing on the inside that shit's getting really bad on the outside, and that they're probably even more screwed than they already were. You know, people having their sentences doubled, just like we've heard in casual dialogue bits in previous episodes. Now we're seeing it paid off. So I loved all that shit. I just, for some reason, the episode lacked that, like, ooh, oh shit, oh my god, what's gonna happen in the next scene? Like, that type of stuff.
I agree with that. It definitely lacked the dramatic tension of some of the other ones, probably just because, like, now is the time where, like, you're setting the stage, and then, like, the tension will start to, like, build over the next episode and then come to a head in the third one. But I do agree that there wasn't a sense ever that, like, Cassian may be getting close to escaping, or, like,
or in danger. Like, I mean, I know he's in prison, but I never really felt like he was in danger.
Like, there was, because the way that they function here is essentially like, look, man, you have to, like, it's not of benefit to the Empire for these people to kill themselves, because then they lose productivity. They have to get more people in, which is why they're you have to train them, all this shit. So it's like, it's not of benefit for them to, like, kill themselves. So that's why they're like, look, you can eat as much as you want. Here's water. Here's fresh water. They clean the rooms every day. Like, you get a fresh misting shower every day. So, like, they
with
try
a bunch
to
of other naked
dudes.
I mean, if you're into that, that's a bonus as well.
And, like, they also set it up as, like, a semi-prison experiment too, to where there is a prisoner that is also running the other prisoners.
The supervisor. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I don't think he's gotten to, like, he's clearly trying to figure out, like, okay, what's something that I can try to get around? Like, he saw how things were working now. He's like, okay, the floor is electrified. That is one way. Like, how can I get around this? Which is eventually, I think, what we're going to start to see in the next episode is, like, what is he going to do to his feet to make him not get electrocuted to death?
They're getting those boots, man. I felt like, I don't know if you felt this way watching it, but when he arrived at the prison, really until he gets to Block 5 or Unit 5, they almost focus too long on obvious shit. Like, he stares at the shoe rack of rubber shoes. Yeah, you see him, he's looking there. He's looking at how many guards are in the hall. I mean, you can see Cassian processing all the information one would need to know to get out. But we'll talk about more on that, because we've actually, through officially released TV spots, I mean, obviously that's inevitable, but in terms of the breakout, it may not be the people you are expecting it to be. But through TV spots, and just if you have a brain, I think you can kind of figure out who the group of people are going to be that get into the breakout, and then who ultimately makes it out. I mean, one of them is a character in Rogue One, which we'll talk about here in a little bit when we get to our Easter eggs and top moments. So, yeah, I mean, really, my last few thoughts on this episode, still quality, okay? I'm not saying it was bad, or I'm going to start shit posting Star Wars on my social media now. It just didn't quite have that feeling of desperation that I felt the other episodes had. Like, it's almost like you always felt something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Good. It
was almost like a
bad.
sense of despair more than anything. Like, he was just like, he kind of just fell into this hole of, like, this is...
Before they did that 30-day time jump, I think that's the first time we saw Cassian realize that he fucked up big time.
Yeah, like, he's in trouble.
Like, he's fucked. Like, because they even show him, like, in the dark, he puts his head down, he's sitting, and that's the first time I've ever really seen this character broken mentally. But hey, he rebounds within 30 days. He's right into the routine, just like the rest of them, trying to get whatever table 5 to be number 1. So it was fun. Just lacked that constant thrill, I guess. All right, dude. So let's go through some of the top moments and see where the discussion goes on these. But the first one I had, we kind of talk about it here, and that was the meeting that we had been expecting. The Cyril Dedra, I guess I've been calling her Deidre. It's Dedra, Dedra, Dedra Miro. Didn't go as planned, and really, I think the best part about this opening scene, Nick, between these two, besides her just completely discounting him and us getting to, or the idea being reinforced that Cyril is one of the biggest tools in all of Star Wars, it was the next scene where she's talking to the broader ISB, and we learn that she, potentially other agents, have been aware of Luthen for a while now. So much so that we learned his code name. And we learned that Luthen is known as Axis to the Empire. And the reason they call him Axis is because he seems to be the central point for where all this rebel activity has happened. All these heists, stealing Starpath units here, that unit there, this unit there. So you start to see that you understand more why Luthen is so damn nervous and has been cautious up until Cassian's point. He is on the Empire's radar. He's been on their radar, so much so that Dedra now has some THO over the idea, like, listen, this guy doesn't fuck up, but he fucked up on Ferrix. That's why, Wolf, I need the fucking resources, pal, because this dude is everything to our investigation of this burgeoning rebel movement. That's why I like the opening ISB scenes here.
Yeah, no, I mean, those were pretty solid. It also, like, pretty much confirms what we assumed, that Luthen is probably gonna die at, like, maybe even in this season at this point. If they're so, like, it seems like they're pretty locked in on him as the central nexus, like you said, of all of this rebel activity. And now that they have another piece that they can directly link to him, especially now that Bix has been captured, like, you can assume that he may not make it to the end of season 1.
Well,
and then
I think Stellan ruined that for all of us, by the way. So
did he say something?
I'm pretty sure, dude. And this would have been months ago. He's like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, I can't wait to do season 2 and have more scenes with Forrest Whitaker and shit like that. So I think Luthen at least makes it into the next season. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's not long for the world for clear reasons. I mean, we're talking about the grandfather of the Rebel Alliance, and then he just never shows up again. So clearly he gets taken out. He's
gotta die.
He gets taken out. And I still think that's one of the reasons why, one of the many reasons why Mon will eventually be like, all right, fuck it. It's time. I am the face. I'm going to go ahead and take the mantle now that Axis is off the map. All right, next top moment, and we also just kind of mentioned this, was just Cassian. The particular moment was Cassian. He made it through his day there. He gets to the barracks. And as we just discussed, for the first time, you could really feel as a viewer that his reality hit him. Like, smacked him across the fucking face with a 2x4. When he was shown he's going to be eating out of a tube, flavorless liquid. If you step on the floor, you die. He's in here probably the rest of his life, even though it says 6 years. But all the other prisoners like, listen, man, PORD, what does it mean? What's it happening? We're all going to be here forever, aren't we? They're never letting us out. He's just absolutely destroyed. And like I said, it's not an emotion we have seen Cassian really experience in Rogue One and the prior 7 episodes. So I thought it kind of hit. They're like, hey, this guy who seems cold as ice, he can be broken too.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. It's like now he realized like the depth of what he's involved in, and like he's got this sentence for literally doing nothing, for like just like walking along the pathway.
I'm a tourist.
Yeah, like for just walking along the way while the Empire was chasing somebody else. Like, so now he knows, one, like, I'm in prison for 6 years for this. Imagine if they find out who I really am. Like, then I'm really fucked. So I think that it's just like, it's hitting him now. And I think that this is going to be another reason why he may lean a little bit more heavily into the rebellion once he gets out. Cause he's like, now I can see like the Empire is not just like this thing that, you know, like it's not going to affect me. Cause I think that's what his thought was prior. He's like, the Empire's doing Empire shit there. It's not going to affect the way that I live. It's not going to affect the way that I go about my business. But now that he's like been put inside of this prison, and now he sees like the aggressive moves that the Empire is taking to like essentially, you know, tighten its grip on the galaxy and the people in the galaxy, he's going to be like, okay, like now that I'm out, we probably need to do something about this, because if this continues, the whole galaxy is going to shit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I did think that this episode did a great job at, without it being in your face, showing us why Luthen was excited that the Empire was going to crack down. I mean, I know he said it again in this episode when he went to meet Crazy Guy in the cave, but it's doing what he wanted. I mean, you could just see the hysteria in the fucking prison, and these people aren't even in the public space where they can get the direct holonets. I mean, the prisoners are freaking out, and they're already locked up. That's some deep shit. That goes to show you like how far reaching this PORD is, and how bad it is messing with just the common folk of the galaxy. And ultimately, they are going to suffer for many more years, but Luthen knows and knew that this was the only way. Like he said an episode ago, hey, at this point, they've been choking us so slowly, some of us don't even know we're being choked to death. So he needs the Empire to come back like they were at the beginning, just, as Nick said, putting a chokehold on the galaxy, because that is going to get people, that is going to get the Cassians of the galaxy to finally wake up and go, you know what, I can't just be a grifter and bounce around the galaxy always running. I am going to have to do something here, because
I mean, it's the ultimate like use of short-term pain for long-term gain, but the short-term pain is like turning the Empire into essentially like a tyrannical juggernaut that just like is smashing people and planets all around the galaxy. Yeah. Which is what, like, as somebody who's like leading a rebellion, you would imagine like, I don't want this to get this bad, but it has to get that bad for people to see what needs to happen.
Oh yeah. And it obviously gets horrible because the Rebel Alliance forms by the time of the Battle of Yavin, but right before that, what does the Empire do? It blows up an entire fucking planet for not complying. Yeah. Like that was the next step of the Empire's clampdown from the Aldhani mission. Think about that. All this now stems from Aldhani, and that's fun shit to think about as a Star Wars fan. Yes, the Death Star was under construction well before that, but they're always building it as a stick. That's what it was. Yeah. The Death Star was a large stick, but because of events of Aldhani and after, they're like, you know what? We're going to actually have to use this fucking stick a few times to show people what it can do. And that's why you got the Jeddah test really, and then ultimately Alderaan eats shit. So I don't know. I mean, I think Diego just did a really fantastic job in the prison. Like, just, you could see it on his face. Like, fuck. It was that feeling of shit. What have I done? I just left my poor fucking rebel-loving mom on Ferrix because I was so worried about getting laid in Space Florida and getting something to eat at a convenience store. So, speaking of a good meme, I saw one today. It's Rey, Palpatine, and Cassian, and it says, "I am all the Skywalkers." Then I am all the Sith, and then Cassian says, "I am a tourist."
Yeah, I am a tourist.
I love it. The poor bastard, even when they were, figuring out which transport to go on, he's still going, but what? I'm just a tourist. It's like, hey, Keith Gergo, give it up, pal. It doesn't matter.
It's too late now, buddy.
Welcome to the new empire. You are fucked for being a tourist. 6 years. Okay, another top moment here, and one I may want to dig in a little bit. Cinta and Val. Okay, and this is where I like Tony's writing. He doesn't fuck around with little bullshit, right? We were all worried, she's going to be stuck on Aldhani, and sure shit, she's on Ferrix ready to start assassinating people. The interesting...
she got off.
Yeah, and there was no reason to see that. I mean, I like all that stuff. Just, hey, we'll move characters from, A to B, and it doesn't matter. And it doesn't. That's just good storytelling. But the important part, and why this was a top moment for me, is, I don't know if you picked up on this, Nick, but, Val's like, what's your backstory going to be as you're essentially settling in, going undercover on Ferrix? And kind of like a dick, Cinta's like, well, I don't know. Why don't I just be a rich girl running from her family? Which was a direct attack at Val, which confirms speculation we had last week, Nick. So, to dive a bit deeper into this top moment, One piece of our speculation has been confirmed. Vel comes from money.
Yeah.
Now, is it a family we know or have already seen? That's the next question.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that it's somebody that we're familiar with. I'll put it that way. Like, I don't think it's Mothmas. Like, I don't think it's the Mothmas. Because you would imagine... I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't though. Like if she like left the family and was like, well, I'm going to go, I don't agree with what's going on here. I'm going to go do things on my own. They probably wouldn't even speak about her. They would probably just like wholly forget it. Like,
especially Perrin. I mean, at this point, I think Perrin's a fucking cyborg. I mean, that guy is one of the shadiest supposed, I guess, in between characters. He's clearly not a hero, he's clearly not full bad, but he's like scum. He's just a fucking scummy rich guy is what he is. I know there's a scene between Val and Mon coming up based on trailers. We've tied her to Luthen himself. Her name's Val Sartha. Who the fuck knows if that's the real name?
Sartha may just be like that's what I was going to say. Like her last name isn't actually anything. Like I'm pretty sure that it doesn't link.
What if she is Rey's lost sister and she's a Palpatine from one of his other zombie sons? It's
very, at this point, I wouldn't put anything past them.
Now, okay, do you think the reveal... you do think it is going to be a family Star Wars fans would recognize when we find out, or hopefully we find out?
I would think so, just because like you want a reveal like that to have weight, right? Like you don't want it to be like, oh yeah, and she's like a part of the Sarthas from fucking wherever, from this place,
Guambo, like just some new
the Guambo Sarthas in their massive mining complex. It's like, oh, cool, I guess. Like,
yeah, I would like to hear either a familiar senator name, or I mean, it would almost have to be a senator, right? What other
at this point
family names would you know, unless it's like they run one of the main guilds?
Yeah, it's like, like I could see it being like maybe like a name we're not familiar with, but then they say like, oh yeah, they run the Zerka Corporation or something like that. Like is affiliated with like a big, massive entity that we are familiar with in some way, shape, or form.
I don't know.
But I do hope that it is in some way affiliated with a group of people that we are familiar with.
I don't know. I guess it's so obvious. Maybe that's why it's going to be Luthen. So I'm sticking with that.
It could be.
It just, man, in episode 4, when those two had that conversation, I got dad-daughter vibes a little bit. When he was starting to get a little more serious, like, listen, motherfucker, I'm the boss. You're going to do what the fuck I say. Just shut the fuck up and deal with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That was one thing that I was like, man, I really do think that, like, after seeing that interaction, that there is some other relationship here other than just like, this is the girl that Luthen runs his shit through.
But
like, I felt
I guess the counter argument to that is she's not really running from her family then if she is working directly with Luthen as a rebel spy. Yeah. So, and
then you would imagine that, like, Cinta, if it seems like Cinta knows who Vel is, just straight up.
Yeah, 100%.
So, like,
what if she's like, a Tarkin?
Could be a Tarkin. Could be like an
You would
Imperial
assume he's
family.
fucking rich at this point in time.
Oh yeah, I would assume that he's rich. It could, yeah. I mean, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's what
I'm just throwing out
linked to Imperial family
names we've heard about. But yeah, I would either like a senator we know about or an Imperial officer of some sort.
Maybe he's even like, she's even related to like Yularen. Like, Yularen has come in and has made his presence known for like the last two, and Yularen seems to be like the big ISB guy here now.
Oh, for sure.
Like, he's the one who's like, you're the bad guy. Like, Padagaz, they kind of pushed him off. Now Yularen is taking much more of a upfront, face forward.
Oh yeah, he's running shit now
in the ISB.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, Palpatine sent him down there to run things.
If she turned out to be like Wolf Yularen's daughter, that would be pretty fucking
all right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's just the more I think about it, Luthen doesn't make any sense at all. So we'll see. But
yeah, no, because Cinta wouldn't poke her about that. Cinta would be like, well, yeah, like, you're helping your family.
But she's clearly from what I would consider to be a powerful family within the Star Wars universe. Hopefully, Tony, he is the Lord. He has been knighted. You never know what he's going to do. He doesn't do cynical shit. But I like Nick, I do think it would hit harder if it is at least a family we have known about from even Tony's favorite type of fiction, fan fiction.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, there you go. Look, see, we know our shit. We told you Vel was somebody than just a regular rebel. She's a rich girl running from her rich family. All right, next top moment. And this seems to be a theme here on this show when it comes to Andor. Oh, hey, Mythos Boba showing up for a live one. What's up there? He's quite the crafter. Just learned today that Ironheart Customs is fully restocked. So if you want to grab some bitchin' custom capes and 3D printed stuff for your collections, check out Ironheart on Instagram. Look at all these free plugs we do for people. But anyways, Nick, like I was saying, anytime we get a Luthen scene, it's probably going to be a top moment. He's become one of my favorite Star Wars characters. But in particular, once again, I'm still struck by this Clea Marquis. Who is Clea? I've asked it since we started breaking down this series. And again, in this exchange, she's like, dude, you done fucked up on Ferrix. We need to get back to locking things down. You need to get back on your game. You got goofy with Cassian. We need to get the shit locked down. So I still feel like they're equals at the least. Or that Clea...
I almost feel like she has leverage over him.
Yeah, does Clea not feel like she could be slightly above him and be the connection to an even bigger body or a bigger organization or more resources?
Yeah, and even just like her demeanor now that she's getting more screen time is definitely one of like, she almost like scolds him.
Like, look at this look. I knew what you're going with, and I had to get a screenshot. But I mean, yeah, you're right. She's almost doing eye rolls, like, dude, hello, come on, McFly. Like, she wants to smack him.
Yeah. So, like, your initial thought of like, this person may be involved with the underworld, the underground.
Yeah, Crimson Dawn or the underworld clearly is in the circle. Is the circle part of the underworld an offshoot of Crimson Dawn? Yes, I do. I still do believe she has connections to that type of stuff.
Yeah, no. So I'm starting to believe that more and more, that she is like, whoever Luthen made a deal with to get like to just get shit off the ground, to just start to make contacts in the underworld. Like she is the liaison for that group.
Yeah, I can buy into that, and it feels that way. It's not like I don't feel like he owes her anything, and she doesn't owe him. But I think it's clear that he is not the number one.
Yeah, and she has an invested interest in him not fucking this up. Like
big time. Like,
because if
she's way more ice cold than him right now. I mean, she's the one going out. Hey, we gotta kill Cassian. We gotta kill Cassian. We gotta kill Cassian. I mean, she's like, dude, kill the fucking guy. Where he's still kind of like, oh, you know, they're taking care of it. Who cares? I'm gonna go do my thing. I need to leave. She's like, why are you leaving right now? That's not smart. She's the one trying to remind him, like, look, we've gotten this far because you've been so careful. You fucked up on Ferrix. Look at what is happening now. I know you like it because it's helping the cause, but you're putting us in danger, and you need to fucking calm down.
Yeah. So I do think that, like, if she was just like working with him, if she was just like, you know, pushing for the same things that he's pushing for and had no like vested interest in what was going on here, I feel like it would be a little bit different. I feel like the relationship between the two would be different than what it has shown itself to be so far. So
yeah, and we got Joe in here, Klondike Studios, a top fiver, by the way, this week, asking maybe his daughter. I don't think so. I think at this point they've had enough closed door meetings. If they were related, we probably would have seen that take place, at least an embrace. Like, oh, Dad, you know, don't be such an idiot. It would. I felt like we would have gotten that because they've been alone in their secret room where things are sanitized, they're not being spied on. So I don't think there's a direct relation. I kind of like Nick's angle, honestly, that this bigger force that we may or may not know about, helping the rebels while also helping their own shady stuff. Kind of is like, hey, this is our representative. You work with her. What she says would be no different than if it was coming from us. Something like that. Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's, you know, what would be, okay, I'm trying to like timeline things out here. Maul is dead.
Not yet. No,
right?
Maul's still...
Not yet.
Maul,
so
I'm envisioning Maul is on his spirit walk right now looking for a Sith holocron.
Yeah, so that's what I figured.
So Kira should be in charge of Crimson Dawn.
Of Crimson Dawn, yeah, because I was like, it would actually make even more sense that Crimson Dawn would be involved in this if Maul was still the head of it because he hates Palpatine so much.
But through the comics, you've learned that he taught Kira, like, listen, it's that guy and that guy. They're the reason the galaxy's fucked up. So she learned through Maul, and that's why in these, soon to be Hidden Empire and Crimson Reign, we saw that she had been planning all along, putting plants in the Empire, the Rebel Alliance, other criminal organizations, with the intent of taking down the only Sidious invader. That's it.
Yeah. So I can see it. I could see her. I could see Clea being an agent.
Yes, dude. She seems so much like someone that I could see drawn right next to Kira in the comics. They fit.
And also, like, her. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but her style, like, just look at like the way she wears her hair, the way she wears her like eye makeup and like her makeup and stuff like that. That outfit that we saw her.
Oh, the red one. I mean, yeah, she put on the fucking episode. Red. She put on the crimson itself. So
yeah, like she just sells herself as like, I'm a shady person, but like even more shady than you think I am.
Yeah, I agree. I think she is shadier than even Luthen, and we learned through that great scene with Saul that he's shady as fuck. They're all shady as fuck at this point in time because they have to be. Like you. Yeah,
they
we'll get into the Saul scene. I actually think that's next, but that was a pretty excellent. Yeah, that is the scene right here. So we might as well transition right into it. So the Luthen Saul scene, and yes, SW Props was right. I think I swatted him a few times saying I didn't think we'd get to Saul yet, but we got it. It was a great scene. I think everyone could see through the scene why Stellan was spilling the beans so early about Saul being in Andor, because I mean I think the first report was he was just like, I got to act with Forrest Whitaker today, and it was one of the most fantastic scenes I've ever done, and we got to see it.
I mean, it was a fun scene.
It was a fun scene. It was a great scene, but Nick, the interesting thing to me was just how uneasy they are with each other. I mean, they're like, "Hey, Aldhani, you did that, right?" And he's like, "No, I was going to ask you. You did that. No, you did it. No, you did. You did. Oh, I thought that would have been your job." The whole conversation, they're just trying to get the other to admit that they did Aldhani, but they won't because they know that they can't even trust each other as freedom fighters, which is a very interesting dynamic at this point in time.
But even like Luthen even tells Saw at one point, like, "Hey, you have to get your shit together because, like, if we're gonna do this, we have to come together at some point."
Nick, the line is this. It was a great line. He says, essentially, Saw, why do you always have to argue with people that agree with you? Is what he says. And it does, as you were saying, it pays off on how we know Saul's story ends. He just, because of all the shit he went through in the Clone Wars and kind of being left alone at the fall of the Republic, he just built up a fucking shell and truly became an anarchist. Like in this scene, Luthen's like, "Bro, what do you want, man?" Because Saul's like, "They suck. The Parsons fucked it up. These people fucked it up. I'm the only one that knows the right thing." And Luthen says, "So anarchy then." And Saul more or less doesn't disagree with him. So even at this point, Saul truly doesn't believe in a rebel alliance, and he never does, and that's why they never let him in, and they think he's essentially Rebels' version of ISIS by the time Rogue One comes around. But Saul's like, "Listen, I can't. None of you people or this leader or that faction, they don't know shit. I'm not helping him. Fuck that. They wouldn't help me. Fuck him." I mean, Saul's a pretty miserable piece of shit if you think about it.
Oh yeah, like Saw, he is so. I mean, like we've seen what like basically brought him to his insanity through the Clone Wars, and like he's just never been able to shake that. No. Like he's never been able to like really readjust to society after like all of the trauma that he went through and we saw in Clone Wars. So, and it persists until his death. I mean, we essentially see that happen in Clone Wars, or not in Clone Wars, in Rogue One. Like we thought, like he gets even worse. Like you can see the mental decline of Saw over the time period from like Clone Wars to Rebels, now into Andor, and then to his ultimate demise in Rogue One. Like he's just so mentally broken, and there's not a lot that can be done about it.
Yeah, I mean he's not like Borgali crazy yet, and
not yet. He's bordering there,
sticking his fingers in light sockets to do his hair every morning. But you could see he's getting close, and I actually think this scene would predate when we first meet him in Rebels, where he doesn't seem as nutty yet, and he actually has a shaved head, which is, it might have some continuity problems, but nothing you can't just close an eye to and get over. But yeah, you're all right.
Who knows how fast his hair grows back?
Exactly. Maybe the shit grows like weeds. Us. Who knows? Yeah, he definitely doesn't suffer from Nick and I's problem with the hair on top of our heads. But this whole scene was great to just, it showed you a little more about Luthen and how he is this Axis, right? I mean, he's trying to recruit Saul's faction to go help out this Anton or whatever's faction. And he knows with Saul's help, they could score another big victory. But even with proof of, hey, look, we pulled off Aldhani, Saul is not even willing to consider it. He's like, you know what? Nope. We need all the shit you have with you. You're willing to trade for this job, but because I'm so ignorant and pig-headed, take your fucking shit with you, and essentially, with a smile, go fuck yourself. I mean, that's pretty much what he said at the end. Like, hey, take those satellite or whatever arrays and shove them up your ass, because I know better than you. Even though you pulled off Aldhani, the most successful rebel mission to date that has actually started to motivate people. But why would I listen to that? Because I've got the Borgali in the basement. So,
I want to see it again, man. I want to see him link somebody up to Borgullet.
But I think that's it. I do think that's it with Saul in season 1 of Andor. Like I think it was just that quick check-in. I do not see him being a hero and coming to save things at the last minute to, come in and at least be able to say, see, I saved your ass anyways. I think that was just an exchange to give us more on Luthen and how he's trying to ramp up the operations, and he's
trying to like bring people together.
Yes.
He's like, look, we have one faction, you have your faction. If we put them together, if we start to work together, then we can start to really make a difference. But
I mean, I don't remember the exact phrase, but he more or less says like, hey, Aldhani was great, but if we don't act as one, that shit is useless. We're toast. We're dead right from the get-go. If we don't start coalescing here and sharing resources, because you can tell. I mean, Saul he's very mine. It's mine. I'm not sharing my X-wings. I don't need your satellite arrays or whatever the fuck he was trying to hawk. But I don't know. I don't see Saul needing to show up again. I think that scene just kind of served a purpose to remind fans that Saul is kind of loony and on the fringe, and that Luthen is really trying to ramp things up because the ball is rolling after Aldhani. So there's our top moment. So now to get into the few Easter eggs, and there was a nice little sequel trilogy cameo. I'm sure for most of you, it was not too hard to spot. You had Rogue One cameos as well. So there's some good stuff in here to talk about, starting with, if you're paying attention or use captions like I do, as Cassian is kind of getting put into his transport, you can hear one of the other troopers tell another prisoner or another convicted tourist that their destination is Belsavis. And Belsavis is actually from way back when, the Children of the Jedi novel. But Nick may be familiar with it because it popped up a lot of the times in SWTOR with the Rakatan. It used to be like one of the planets that the Rakatans kind of took over. So.
Yeah, so even in the SWTOR timeline, it was still an Imperial prison planet.
Oh, okay.
Funny enough.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Because it was like one of the primary storylines that you get to towards the end of your run on Belsavis is kind of working your way into these Rakatan prisons and stuff like these old ancient Rakatan, even at that time, like in SWTOR time, ancient Rakatan prisons and stuff like that, and you get to mess with them there. But before you get there, Belsavis is an Imperial prison planet that has essentially been breached by the rebels. And there's shit like that you have to deal with. So Belsavis is the location of a raid on there too. Belsavis, so big part in SWTOR for sure.
All right, so see, it pays to turn on closed captioning. So that was
it definitely does.
Belsavis. Now you got to wonder, Nick. I don't think Tony has directly written an episode since the first 3. I forgot who wrote this one.
Bo Willimon of House of Cards fame.
Okay, so
wrote this one.
Does Bo write in Belsavis and shit like that, or where does a nugget like that come from in a show where you had the showrunner essentially say, "Fuck Easter eggs, fuck references. I'm Tony Gilroy. Suck my dick."
I think that a lot of times what ends up happening here is it's not necessarily insert planet name here when they turn in the script. I kind of think it is, though, dude. I think that's what they do, though. Is whoever's writing it is hey, man, I need the name of an Imperial prison planet, and they just send a list. This is what I need planetary wise in this episode. They send it off to. So it's like Dave a booklet,
Filoni. When you're little kids. It's all right, put a noun here, a verb here, and an adjective here, and it'll come up with a story. So they send that to Filoni's house. They're like, hey, Filoni, Gilroy's got his latest Mad Lib for you to fill out. We just need a few planet names that, the dorkier fans will be like, oh shit, they did that, where casual fans, they won't even notice. So go ahead and fill this out for us. I in planet name here.
I I think that's what it is, because there is nobody like Beau Willimon has no reason to know the name Belle Savis.
I didn't know it. It's just, this is what I did. I mean, you should see my notes when I'm done. I'll have like 55 names with question marks next to them, which means I don't fucking know what it is, but it sounds like I probably should, and I need to go check to see if this is a real thing. So yeah, you're right. Like, Belle Savis, there's no way unless it's a super hardcore lore hound gets involved.
I mean, that like deep cut there with Belle Savis for sure. Right. But also, like, you can tell that like they're keeping cohesiveness because they've talked about the Rakatan Empire in this fucking show.
What I mean. It's like,
so like I almost feel like there are moments where it's like they literally say like, we need something here. We need a planet here. We need like a piece of like ancient history lore here. Like, what can we put here?
They have to.
And they have like the specialists, like the Star Wars lore specialists, go and fill shit in for them.
Sign me up for that, dude. I want that job. Like that's probably the one thing that my useless talent of remembering pop culture facts could actually be leveraged to maybe make myself some cash. So I'll go ahead and get my agent on that shit. But I like that. I want to be the Mad Lib script doctor for Tony Gilroy's Star Wars project.
I guarantee you they have.
Hey, Haywood, come here. We got one for you, pal. I'm like, okay, insert planet name.
If you said the name Belle Savis to Tony Gilroy, he would have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
He'd probably slap me, spit in my face, and say, "Get the fuck out of my presence."
It's like, why are you talking to me about this?
Yeah, where's that come from? Fan fiction, you asshole! Get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, so that was a good one, Belle Savis. The other thing I'll have to say about Andor is, at this point, has this show given us the most brand new non-sandy planets in all of Star Wars?
I would have to say so. You know, I would have to say so.
We got 2 new planets in this episode. The first one being Narkina 5, which looks to be one of these moon planets. It seems to be very watery, not like a Camino, not full water, but obviously large bodies of water. That's where they got these.
Looks like it's also very cold there too.
They got these these slave prisons underwater. I'm sure they're underwater for a reason. But hey, we got another new planet. I mean, it seems like every episode you're at least getting one new planet. I know there is a section of the Star Wars fandom that really likes new planets, so that's why I include them. But Narkina 5 added to the database. Just make sure Dooku's ass doesn't delete it. I don't know about you, my friend, but when I was watching this, I got some THX 1138 vibes, talking about the prison scenes in general. For those of you that might be young, dumb, and full of cum, THX 1138 was George Lucas's first real movie. It starred Bobby, and it really was very similar. It's in this future prison. Everyone's all white. The prison is very sanitary feeling. The prison guards kind of have black to stand out. So I really got THX 1138 vibes from the prison scenes. And if you notice, the prisoners' jumpsuits are the rebel colors. I mean, they're white and orange. So I thought I don't think that was by mistake either.
Also gave me Logan's Run vibes too. Just like there was kind of like a sterility to like future type of stuff way back in the day. Like Logan's Run had like similar style of jumpsuits. The coloring wasn't always the same. Like the interiors of like buildings and stuff like that. When you look at Logan's Run, were very stark and white and clean and very, what we saw in the prison as well. But yeah, I think one other person like in our question of the week brought up THX vibes as well. So
I mean, honestly, sticking with the prison, I just find it amazing that they built all those sets. I mean, where they're making those parts, that's a fucking set. Most other Star Wars, that would be volume shit with a few practical set pieces to interact with. But that whole prison is a set, and it clearly is one of the things making this show stand out. I do have to admit the more practical approach to filming here is a plus. I'm not a full-on volume hater, but it's hard to compare the Kenobi visuals to this and say that they're on the same level all the time. It's just they're not. All right, so this was a surprise to me, and I do remember, I think MSW leaked this out well over a year ago, but I had forgotten, probably was a no big thing, but I was surprised to see Mr. Andy Serkis, a.k.a. Snoke, returning to Star Wars and not having to wear a mask, and I love it. Like, I think Andy Serkis is a gem. He doesn't get enough acting roles. I know he's been doing a lot of directing. This guy should have won at least one Oscar for what he did with Gollum in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I mean, he is the reason fully CGI characters are as fully fleshed out and formed as they are today. He's just a great character actor. He's fucking awesome. And I thought him as Kino Loy, it was another great role by Andy Serkis, and I kind of
definitely
like this character Kino, and I know he's all rough and gruff and got to keep shit under control, but I kind of have a feeling that Cassian and the others and just what's happening on the outside and the effect on the inside, I think even with his 50 some days left, he may too feel a reason to escape. I have a feeling Kino is going to play a role. We all know they're escaping. I don't want to get into our speculations yet, but I mean, we all know it's happening. So I'll save it.
It's pretty obvious that they're going to escape.
We know he makes it all the way to Scarif a few years down the road.
Yeah.
So he's getting out of this place, but
unless he's got a twin brother.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
That would be some fucking twist.
Yeah, we learned that Keith Gergo is actually a real person. That Keith Gergo is Cassian's long lost twin brother. And he really was just a tourist on Neamos. And it's his brother that got him fucked up because they look the same.
He thought he had a sister, but really he had a brother. And that's who got fucking arrested.
Cassian, it's me, Keith Gergo, your long lost twin brother. Keith, no! But anyways, it was good seeing Andy in there. And I think Kino, like I said, is going to play a role in the breakout. Speaking about playing roles in breakouts, our next reference in this episode was a good one, a Rogue One reference, in fact, because Mr. Duncan Powell is in there reprising his role as Rue Scott Melshi, who becomes a sergeant in the Rebel Alliance. He is the character that breaks Jyn Erso out of that transport on Wobani, right before she gets clotheslined. And he also leads the ground forces on Scarif when no one else wants to go. So Melshi, a pretty huge character in Cassian's rebel journey. So I think it's awesome, Nick, that we're seeing the formation of their bond, which clearly is not going to break until they both sacrifice themselves on Scarif. So I like this inclusion here.
Definitely a good move to add him in, for sure.
Yeah, it's just... It makes sense that he's on his work team. They're going to bond naturally through that. Melshi, he's someone that, he got a few lines in this episode. He'll probably get more lines in 9 and 10. And I'd say by 10, as they're breaking out, I think you're going to see these two potentially partner up. Like their bond will carry on and remain right away once they get out of prison.
And you can see, like, with Melshi here, as well as Cassian, you can see, like, essentially what this prison time is going to, like, do to them in terms of radicalization. Like,
of course.
They're not going to get out and be like, okay, well, I'm out. Let me just fucking skirt off again into the darkness and hope no. They're like, no, we have to fucking fight against it. We have to fight.
You're exactly right. And that's why this prison time is good for Cassian. Like we said earlier, I think this is finally going to awaken him to what really is going on. Even though it's been going on for his whole life, he's just always... And I do think it's partly trauma from Clem and watching his dad try to, like, hey guys, we're not here to fight. I'm not a fighter. This isn't my fight. And he ends up getting killed anyways. And I think Cassian from a young age has always been like, you know what? Fuck that. Trying to do the right thing doesn't get you anything in this galaxy. So why me? But now through the prison, just going through that ordeal, and as Nick said, meeting other people and hearing their ordeals and what they've been subjected to, and seeing how the PROD is affecting them even in prison. They're being resentenced. Think about how fucked up that would be. Think if
you're already in prison, and then they're like, here's an extra year for no reason.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, because we fucked up and allowed 6 ragtag rebels to steal the quarterly payroll for an entire sector. Now all of you have to serve more time to essentially keep building our war machine. So I think that's a good time to ask now. And then, what are they making? Are these Death Star parts?
It looks so like
I know you're going. I know you're going. I know you're going TIE Fighter like everyone else.
Well, no, I don't think it's necessarily TIE Fighter because one, they seem like looking at the structure of the TIE Fighter. I don't know where something like that would go.
Here's where I still think it's Death Star parts, structure, that type of stuff. But I do understand why people were thinking TIE Fighter. The coloring is the first thing. But Nick, to me, it would be the connection point from the hull to the flat wing is what they were making if that was a TIE Fighter part. But scale-wise, it didn't seem large enough. So I really just think that all these prisons at this point especially are doing nothing but making parts to finish the Death Star build.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. I mean, it's hard to tell just by looking at the piece itself, and ultimately, like, we'll likely find out that it was something to do with the Death Star because everything at this point in the galactic timeline was about giving the Death Star, like building the Death Star up to its full potential. So I agree. I do think it's Death Star parts. I don't think that it's TIE Fighter parts.
Well, there you go. Bat and Black Series Clips has reminded us all that TIEs, just like X-Wings, are secured from a third party. So yeah, it has to be Death Star parts.
Yeah, because they're bought from the
It is a corporation. I know I can't get it either, but it is one of these corporations.
Yeah, because I mean we
1/6 shooters going probe droids. They weren't black. No, I'm telling you, man, it just makes too much sense. It's Andor about a show about a guy that ultimately leads to the destruction of the Death Star. It just adds more to Cassian's tale that he was actually Cassian Andor has helped build the Death Star. Think about that. He's helping to build the Death Star. So that's what I'm sticking to. It just makes too much sense for the through line from here into Rogue One. It's just it's fucked up to think about. Like, you know, they lock him up for no reason, and he's working on the death machine that he's ultimately going to sacrifice his life for some farm boy to blow up with his eyes closed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
I think that is that makes the most.
He is a tragic character if you think about it. He is a tragic character if you think about Cassian. But that's why this show's been so good to show. Like, even he walks headfirst into suicide and knows it, but how did he get there? How did he get to that point? Well, I think episode 8 was one of the first times we saw him taking those steps, or at least learning, like, okay, I need to kind of rethink my life. Not that he's smoking death sticks, but he does need to rethink his life, and we finally got that. Okay, moving on. We got another new planet here. I checked. There was no Segra Milo in the database prior to this episode. So that is a new planet. This is where Saul was hiding out. And a lot of you, if you're goofy like me, you probably remember Saul's hideout from a lot of those leaks. It was one of those destinations in the UK that wasn't quite hidden, and many people got shots of it. All right, and then finally some easy ones here in our Easter egg and references breakdown. Everyone loves them some Two Tubes, okay? Two Tubes has been one of my favorite random characters since Rogue One. He's just got a kick-ass name, and he looks pretty rad.
He looks pretty cool.
You gotta dig their X-Wings with kind of the black and gray color scheme. I do like Black Squadron, if that is a thing. I'm digging that.
Yeah.
Digging that. And then
it also helps from like aerial recon. Like if you're flying over.
No, you know what? You're right. You're exactly right. That's why they're paying that way.
You can't see shit.
Yeah. Well, see. You know what? That's what Nick does. After every Star Wars time show, he gets in his fucking drone VR room and goes out there and flies recon missions for the Air Force.
Right. Yeah.
Look at you. You're dead on, though. That has to be why. Because because I mean, look at
it
bleeds right to the rocks.
Around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks just like the rocks. You would never be able to spot it.
And these are the X-Wings that they're not going to share with Luthen and the other Rebel cells. Dickheads.
That's right.
But Two Tubes, you're cool. And then, obviously, we already mentioned him, but he did show up. Saw Gerrera. Slightly less crazy, slightly less physically damaged, okay? He's not sucking air quite yet. But he's definitely nuts. Okay, he is definitely nuts.
Yeah.
All right.
He's getting there.
So, the one thing from my thoughts section, Nick, that we didn't touch on because I actually left Mon Mothma out. But what the fuck's up with Lita? She's gonna do something, right? They can't keep going to her and showing her being completely annoyed with being her daughter without her doing something that's going to screw something up for Mon. Am I on to something here?
I think so. I mean, like, Tony has done a lot to just show, like, the normal everyday life of people in the galaxy thus far. So it may just be like, you know, like, not only is Mon Mothma dealing with a very hard political situation in the world right now, but she's also dealing with regular ass family shit. And when you have a teenage daughter at Lita's age, like, they're just rebellious little bastards sometimes.
It's just like, did you notice though what she said? She came up, she's like, "Oh, Tay, you're here a lot more." I just feel like maybe not on purpose, but I feel like she's going to reveal something to the wrong person, not knowing that it's bad, and it could cost Mon a bit in the end.
It's definitely possible because, like, she already clearly favors her father, and her father is aloof at best, and at worst, he is an Imperial sympathizer. So it could be that, like, she does accidentally kind of pass on some information or notices something and tells her dad, and then that leads to whatever is going to happen.
Yeah, that, like, or just
the thing is like, nothing happens to Mon that, like, expressly gets her, like, fucking hard heat from the Empire.
Because she serves as a senator all the way up until she declares herself as the leader of the Rebel Alliance. So
yeah, like, it basically until the dissolution of the Senate at the beginning of episode 4, like, she is an active member of the Senate. So, like, there's nothing that can, like, truly happen to her. But I do think that, like, what we may see is, like, she actually picks up on, like, she may actually, like, turn to her mom's side because she may see something that is, like, unscrupulous or very cruel that the Empire does, and then realizes, oh wait, my mom may have been right this whole time. So that's one way.
They keep going to her, and they may seem like throwaway scenes, but she's always kind of there when something important is being discussed or thought about. And, you know, like I said, it could just be one of those deals where she might say something and the wrong person hears it, and it could cause a little heartburn for her mother. Because Nick's right. I mean, it's not like they're gonna fucking lock her up or she's gonna have a record. That really can't happen based on existing canon. But I feel like she could do something that's gonna cause a little fracas at the Mothma house. Which, honestly, I'm a weirdo. Perrin and Mon still have different last names. If you look in the credits, like, it's not Perrin Mothma. Like, he literally is Perrin something, and then it's Mon Mothma.
Maybe they just don't do that anymore.
Well, this episode, they finally came out and confirmed that, you know, they have been married since 16, and she's been a senator since 16, living on Coruscant. So yeah, they're definitely arranged. It's a business deal, if that. I mean, you can. There's no love in Mon's home. I don't even know if there's love between the kid at this point in time. It's a very cold place to be, and it you know, it looks sterile too with the way it's been designed with all the white and brightness. But I don't know. I wrote that down. It's like, why Lida just keeps showing up when her mom's talking to rebels.
Okay.
And
whoever, yeah.
And the fact that she even asked, like, oh, hey, I noticed you're here a lot more. Like, she's not dumb. Or maybe, here's what it could be. I bet Lyda could go rat on her mom thinking that her mom's cheating on this guy, and it ends up getting Tay in hot water and kind of taking that resource from Mon. Maybe something like that. So...
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good assumption.
All right. Well, I think we have done all we can for Andor episode 8. So real quickly, Nick, what do we see tomorrow? Or for those that may just listen to the Star Wars Time Show, what did we see in Andor episode 9?
Yes, episode 9. I almost think that we get like a time jump. I think that we may jump ahead in time for a little bit. I mean, I know that we jumped ahead in time already 30 shifts, which is 30 days. Like, he had been in prison a month by the time we saw him again.
And season 1 still only will cover a year, so we can't jump too far.
So maybe we jump ahead like another month.
Okay.
And like, then we start to see, like, we come into the formation of a plan for escape. Like, they're starting to, like, or at least Cassian is starting to like figure out like how shit works. Because what essentially happened at the last seconds of the last episode or of episode 8 is like, okay, if you hit this floor at nighttime, you die. Like, there is no like, you get shocked, you get to jump back in.
It's
you
death.
Hit the floor and you are roasted, because they're like, now we have to smell him all night. So like, he's like building up these like little bits of information that he needs to like form some sort of escape plan. And I think that episode 9 is going to be like, he's working it out, and he may share this with Melshi, or he may share this with his table, with table 5, to figure out like, hey, if we do this, like, maybe we can find a way out. Because he's looking at timers. He's looking at like, how long does it take? I got 30 seconds, and
that's what I was saying earlier.
He waited as long as he could. He was like, all right, let me get off now. Like, he's piecing it together on how to get out of here. And I think that episode 9 is going to be like the formation of that movement. So,
all right. How about you want to touch on any other threads, or you think this is heavy prison episode?
I think there's a lot of prison stuff. I think that we're also going to get back to Bix. Like, we're going to find out if Bix broke, essentially, like, and what information Miro got from Bix while on Ferrix. The Mothma plotline, I think the heat is going to start to come down on Luthen now. Now that we know the ISB has been tracking this dude, and now that the Bix is going to give them the link between Luthen and Cassian. Like, that's probably what's going to happen. And the heat is going to pick up on Luthen, and he's going to have to start to make moves, whether it be like move off planet or like make more moves to be actually underground and not have a facade, like a forward-facing facade. I think those are the two main things there. Cyril's kind of hard to pin down, because I'm not sure what he does from here. At this point, he's been rebuffed at every opportunity he's had to talk to somebody in the Imperial, the Imperial Armed Forces, for lack of a better word, like the Imperial Security Bureau and shit like that. So I feel like he's kind of hit a dead end in his wishes to be an Imperial officer. So now he's got to figure out, like, I don't know. We may not touch on Cyril for this one, because sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But Cyril now needs to figure out, like, okay, what do I want to do in terms of like, I don't want to sit here and do this forever. And I definitely want to pursue this course of action to like find Cassian Andor. So I don't know if we touch on him just yet, but I do think that he's getting to the point to where he is going to go rogue soon. That's my episode 9 thoughts.
Well, I'll be honest. They, I don't know why, but they're starting to release clips. And I saw it right before we went live. So at least from the prison standpoint, I have an idea of what we're going to get tomorrow. And the clip itself featured them in those tubes for the lineup that we saw in episode 8. Remember, they telegraphed that some prisoners have figured out a communication system through sign language. Yeah. So that's what this scene dealt with, Nick. And it seems in the prison, I think you're correct that we are going to be a bit further down the road than where 8 ended up, because it seems now in the prison shit's getting even shadier, because the whole clip was about our guys are panicking because apparently something has happened on floor 2, and all the other prisoners are trying to communicate it before they get kind of shoved into their barracks, and then the lights start going out and they're all starting to panic, like, what's going on in level 2? And they're like, you got the guy there doing his sign language and whatnot, and Kino is just going nuts. He's basically like, everyone shut the fuck up, get in order, it's nothing, it takes days for messages to travel up and down the levels and blah blah blah. So something is happening at the prison that seems to be making the situation even more dire for the inmates. So I think you're spot on that something's going on. They're either cracking down more, or prisoners are starting to do things in revolt to the PROD. And Cassian's floor, they're realizing it and they're all starting to panic, but I think that does lead into action. So I think we see that prison life is getting even worse. Stuff is happening that the prisoners don't know why or what's happening, which is going to cause more panic and fear, which can sometimes result in action. And that action is going to be in episode 10, breaking the fuck out of there. And I do think, even though it seems like Kino is, like I said, kind of sticking to the supervisor role, I think ultimately, probably after we learn what they're doing to prisoners now, that he's going to make the choice to help the Cassians, the Melshis, his table, get out of there, or motivate the whole whole level 5 to revolt in some capacity and get out. So that's the prison stuff. We don't see the escape. We see what causes some hysteria, which then leads into, okay, we got to get the fuck out of here. We're never getting out. Even those of us that thought we were going to get out in 50 days. That's what gets Kino onto the team.
Yeah, because Kino made a point. He's like, hey, I'm fucking out of here.
Right.
I got he said, I got 200 days left, 235 days left. So yeah, I'm gone.
Through a situation or just a decree, I think he's going to learn that we're fucked. None of us are getting out. We've been working on something. They'll kill us anyways if we get out, so we don't talk about something like that. Now, in terms of the other threads, I agree. I think we get some heavy Ferrix action, kind of seeing the fallout of the Bix Miro interrogation. Because in the end, you got to understand, she's on Ferrix to learn about Cassian, but that's to get information on Axis, aka Luthen. She doesn't give a fuck about Cassian and Andor. She probably should, knowing what we know with hindsight, but Cassian's a stepping stone to the big fish, which is Luthen. So that's all she really cares about. Cyril, you're right. He can't, I don't think he can't continue at the Bureau of Standards. He's going nuts, kind of like how I was when I worked in corporate America. He can't keep using their Google to look for Cassian because he's been caught. So
now he's flagged.
Naturally, he has to go rogue. I don't know if that's just him leaving and finding transport back to Ferrix, or if someone or somebody gives him some information. It's like, hey, dude, we're behind you. Go for it. Yeah. We got you. Yeah. Is that the uncle? I don't fucking know. But in some form or fashion, Cyril is quitting his job and making his way to Ferrix. And Luthen, since he is we now know that the pressure's being turned up, the heat's being turned on. This could be the episode where he has to evade that it's not a full-on Star Destroyer, but it's another large cruiser that Fondor ship of his starts doing 360s with lightsabers coming out of the wings and shit, and he's blowing up their communication dishes. But I don't know, that might be too early. I think Luthen, we probably see him check back in with his boss Clea to let her know that Saul is more or less a lost cause, and they need to figure out their next move for the rebels and for the Ferrix situation, because they're still very concerned with Cassian being the one person out there besides Vel and Cinta. Well, no, besides Vel, because Cinta's never met Luthen.
Because Cinta doesn't know Luthen. At least as far as we know.
Correct. That could rat him out. So I think he continues to focus on the Andor situation. Maybe they learn that he's been locked up. That's the funny thing about the Empire. Before we wrap this, they have their fucking man in one of their holding cells, but they can't find him because they were so concerned about prosecuting him for being a tourist that his fake IDs, everything passed muster, and they think they have Keith Gergo locked up, where they literally have the guy they're looking for in their fucking system. He's in their fucking system.
And that goes to show you too that like they don't have a good system of identifying the true identity of people.
Yeah, even you know,
they don't have fingerprints. They don't have anything.
We saw it in the Bad Batch how they were essentially giving people their cards and chipping their ships, and we're like, oh, you know, that's how your ID, not all that shit. And you're right. In the end, it doesn't really fucking matter. You can have a wanted criminal across the galaxy at this point already in prison, and you don't know.
Those systems aren't linked up yet.
Their IT guys suck. Their data warehouse people are terrible. All right.
Are you not sharing information?
That's not all, my friends. Usually we'd be going on to a nicky-knack topic, but last week, Disney and Lucasfilm decided to also drop the full season 1 of Tales of the Jedi. So it's time to get into those episodes. So kind of like how we do here. I didn't do Easter eggs for this because I was like, fuck it. I was tired. I didn't really give a shit. I'm sure there were plenty, but Nick, we're just going to focus on general review, episode rankings, and then some of the top moments in each episode. Okay? So go ahead. Why don't you just start with a general quickie style review of season 1 of Tales of the Jedi, which I hope to the maker that this is going to be a seasonal release.
A continuing franchise. Yes. I think it was very well done. I think the episode length was fantastic, and I think that this showed us more about like this improves episode 1 immensely,
big time,
with just the Dooku arc.
Oh yeah,
like I could like the Ahsoka episodes were fun, they were fine, but I would have actually preferred that we just had 6 episodes of Dooku. Like,
I mean, who knew Dooku was this interesting and deep of a character?
Exactly. Like, this is what we were talking about before the show started. We were like, dude, and you know, Matt and I, like, we aren't up on the Dooku novel release, so maybe it was out there in the novel release, but as far as we knew, in terms of things that we knew about him, like, we didn't know that fucking Dooku was still in the Jedi Order at the end of episode 1. Like, that is massive.
Bro,
that makes such a difference.
Let's not shit on ourselves too much. I don't think George Lucas knew that when he wrote and filmed The Phantom Menace. So
yeah, I mean, George didn't know. Like, nobody knew until they wrote this. But like, just going back and thinking about like how much episode 1 could have been improved, and I'm not saying that it had, you know, that it was a massive problems or anything like that, you know, like, but having Dooku present in the episode 1 film, and even just ripping off straight some of these scenes that we saw in here, like, improves that movie tenfold. Because then when you get introduced to Dooku in episode 2, he's not just some random ass dude who's like, oh, who's this fucking old rich looking Sith guy who apparently used to be a Jedi? How long ago was he a Jedi? Who knows? But in reality, it was, I mean, there was a jump of like 10 years between episodes 1 and 2, but like up like 10 years ago, this dude was still a Jedi, like very recently. I think it was fantastic.
Bro, he was walking the halls after Qui-Gon fought Maul on Tatooine. Like, he was there when fucking Qui-Gon and the Chosen One were hanging out in the council room.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
just
insane.
Chilling, like deleting shit, just chilling.
Yeah, he's there when after Qui-Gon is killed, and you know, Yaddle is like, "Hey, are you gonna come to the funeral? Funeral's on Naboo," and he's like, "No, not gonna make it, man." Like, so I thought that like the Ahsoka episodes were fine. I think that like one of the like in terms of my favorite individual episode, just because of like how it ties back into what we've already seen and like the direct link to like that, Ahsoka's training with the clones and like training with the stuns and stuff like that, and how long she could survive without being stunned and stuff, directly paid off into the ending of Clone Wars season 7 and how she and Rex were able to escape the light cruiser as they were leaving Mandalore.
I mean, dude, it's like I said earlier, that Anakin Skywalker is the reason Ahsoka Tano was able to survive Order 66.
Survive, yeah. So like that episode might be my individual favorite just because of how integrated it is into. I mean, like they essentially show you the end of, or like towards the end of that episode anyway. It's like when they walk out,
you get a whole new perspective on that scene.
Yeah, the fucking whole 332nd is standing there. Guns come out as they walk out, and then boom, it ends, and it's like shit. That leads us right into that final episode. So I did like that one, but honestly, like if they had 2 other good Dooku episodes, I would have taken those over the or 3 other good Dooku episodes. I would have taken those over the Ahsoka ones, because the Ahsoka ones were okay. Like they weren't interconnected. There were like, sparse stories about Ahsoka's, at first her like literal infancy, and then one episode about the end of her time with the Republic, and then one about her time, as a loner, which I thought were okay. But just the cohesive storyline that's told about Dooku over that 3-episode stretch is just magnificent. And I wish that there was more of that than like the disconnected stories that they told about Ahsoka. But season 1, quick review, solid, very, very good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought it was excellent. I wasn't expecting anything less. I mean, it is a Dave Filoni project. He wrote 5 of the 6. I think the only one he didn't write was Choices, which was one of the Dooku episodes, a good one. And one that reaffirmed in my mind that Mace Windu is a fucking dickhead and one of the shittiest Jedis in the Order.
Dude, what's wild is like, so we find out that 10 years prior to episode 2, well, like, okay, Mace isn't on the council. So,
the Mace, Choices episode, Nick, and they didn't really give us times, but Choices was definitely a couple years before the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, because like he wasn't on the council.
Right, he gets his
like right prior to that, but then he is a Grand Master.
Yeah.
On the council in very short order, which seems odd to me.
He's a dickhead. He's like, as I said in my review, which I'd love for people to go watch if you haven't checked it out on YouTube. But I mean, I described, by seeing Mace in that episode, to me, he is the serial Karn of the Jedi Order. He's the like Dudley Do-Rider. No, we can't. We got to do it by the book. And you even get that in Phantom Menace, where he's like, no, he's too old. Shut up! He's too old. Yeah. I mean, and that. No, you can't go with me, Anakin. No. I mean, fuck Mace Windu. He sucks. I mean, we all love Sam Jackson. I'm not, don't get me wrong here. Don't cross the wires. But if you think about Mace Windu as a character, he fucking sucks.
He definitely, he fit the mold of what they wanted from like the Jedi process. Yeah, like they wanted somebody that they take as a child, that they fully mold into what they want them to be as a Jedi, and then that's what he becomes.
You could argue now, Nick, that Mace Windu is indirectly, or in I don't know, I could almost say directly responsible for Dooku and Anakin Skywalker turning to the dark side.
Yeah.
Because he was Mr. By the Book. No, fuck it. We work for the Senate. Oh, we listen to the council. And Dooku's like, dude, do you see the Senate? We work for these fucking people. You think this is right? I mean, that I'm going too far into, but I'm pretty much spot on with Nick. I loved it. I think Tales of the Jedi was fantastic. It was better than episode 8 of Andor. Honestly, it may be better than the final season of Clone Wars, which is some of the best animated Star Wars out there because of the Dooku stuff. And I'm with Nick. Yeah. The Dooku stuff owned. And I love Ahsoka. She's my girl, but we have so much material already on Ahsoka. the Clone Wars movie, the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Mandalorian. She's out there, okay? We know Ahsoka. We understand why she became who she ends up in The Mandalorian. We kind of get that. We've seen her journey. We've seen her trials. We've seen the tribulations. Dooku, unless his book covers all of this, which I'll never fucking read, we didn't know shit. Nick is 100% right. You meet this guy in Attack of the Clones. I love Christopher Lee. He looked way too fucking old and decrepit. It made no sense. It was like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? Look at this jerky cane and bent lightsaber and this fucking stupid dialogue with Obi-Wan. Like, Sith Lord. Blah, 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 blah. He was terrible.
Going back Nick, to that strong George Lucas writing.
Yes. Like I said, nothing against Christopher Lee. I thought Dooku was a shitbag, turd, damn near laughable character in the live action movies. He's terrible. He gets better in the Clone Wars, but even then you don't get any backstory. You just get long chin, gray hair, angry Dooku. We were finally shown why he made his choice, and honestly, in 3 short episodes, it was a much more fleshed out and justified turn to the dark side than we got in 3 fucking movies with Anakin Skywalker. Like, you can't tell me by the time he is essentially killing Yaddle that his turn doesn't make sense and it was justified through those 3 episodes. It was.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like you see that, like that final scene where like he's battling Yaddle and like Yaddle admits to him like, look,
it's okay.
I resigned from the council. Yeah. You were right. Yes. Like, I'm on your side, but it was just too far gone. Like, Palpatine had his hooks too far in, and it was just
and really,
you felt so bad for him.
Right.
Like, I did not expect that going into this, where I would just like I would watch it and I'd be like, my God, I feel so bad for this guy.
And that's what makes the Dooku stuff so brilliant, because there was none of that character building in the live action movies. He's just a guy that looked silly and had silly lines. That's it. He was your tip, like, I'm the bad guy.
It's like everything he had to do that wasn't a walk had to be CG because he was so old.
It's just,
and look, like we said, like, Christopher Lee is one of the greatest actors that's ever lived, period. Like, there's you can't argue
nothing
about
against
that.
him.
Like,
it's the choices
he's
here.
80 years old, and you're giving him the role of a Sith Lord that has to fight against some of the best Jedi of all time. Like, I don't know what George was thinking. like you knew you were going to have to CGI the balls out of that fucking guy, and it's just like it just did disservice to the character.
Well, it's even like when we talked to Nick, Nick Gillard, he's like, I mean, he didn't come out and say, he's like, listen, Christopher Lee's a legend, but that was some wonky fucking shit. Same with like, getting Ian to sword fight. He's like, it's just some people, they're just not meant to do it. So, yeah, it's just Tales of the Jedi kicked ass, and it really shined because of the Dooku stuff. Like, I am such a fan of Dooku now. Everything's clear to me. I fully understand his arc now. It makes so much sense why he did what he did, why he was the first Jedi Master to turn to the dark side and leave the Order as a wise and old Jedi. I mean, you could see it from Justice. You saw it fleshed out more in Choices, and then he had already made his choice to join Sidious by the time the Sith Lord opens up, but we don't even know that because we watched Phantom Menace and we thought we knew what was happening during that timeline. But thanks to the Sith Lord, we now know so much more. That's when he was literally walking the halls and using SWTS codes to delete Camino. He learned, like, it was funny.
Dude, that's one guy.
SWTS.
I want to know more about SWTS, man. Like, season 2 of Tales of the Jedi, just tell me anything about that guy.
You're
other
not
than
wrong.
He was killed.
Because I think he like shows up in some form or fashion, and it's either a Clone Wars episode or a Rebels episode. It's like a ghost of SWTS shows up, and even then it doesn't make a ton of sense. But it was nice to get that background finally. Like, as Nick said, Dooku was in the fucking Order all the way through the end of the Phantom Menace. Like, through the end. Yeah. Through Qui-Gon dying. I mean, that's why when he goes to the works, he's like, hey, fuckhead, Why did you kill him? I told you,
why?
He didn't have to die. I could have convinced him. Like, he was already kind of like how Anakin was on Mustafar. Like, listen,
he's like on the edge.
Yeah,
like, I was working him over. He could have been an ally.
Exactly. If he just listened to me, I could have convinced him to completely turn away from the light and join the dark, because he would have saw that I was right and that the Jedi were corrupt. Where, at that point, the veil of Sidious had been pulled over his eyes. I mean, Dooku did have the right intentions. He just got in leagues with the wrong fucking person. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Like Dooku, if Palpatine wasn't there, Dooku could have, ultimately he still would have left the Jedi Order. But I think that Dooku would not have become a Sith Lord without the hooks of Palpatine being in him.
Correct.
I feel like he still would have been disillusioned, and he still probably would have left the Jedi Order, but he almost would have become, in my opinion, he would have become like a vigilante, almost like a daredevil, where you're operating against the bad, but outside of the bounds of the Jedi and the bounds of the institutions that are being held within the Republic.
That's why
it was just that
those early episodes were so good, because you saw it in stages, like how he was becoming disenfranchised with the Republic and therefore the Jedi Order. And Injustice, I think, was the most clear. We had that senator essentially making his people live in squalor. It was so bad that they kidnap his son, and even his son's like, listen, these people, this is rough. My dad's a fucking dickhead. And even then, the dad's like, fuck all you, I'm going to kill you motherfuckers. And Dooku was just like, what? You don't see what you're doing to your people? You're the senator. You're the one that's supposed to be vying for them, getting laws passed for them, making sure they don't live in pigsties and shit. Like, what the fuck's your problem? And then you're starting to attack us, and that's when he kind of has his snap, where that shit, everything that we saw in these shorts of Dooku is what we should have been seeing Anakin go through in the fucking movies. Finally, someone did it. That's what I've been talking about all these years. The 3 Dooku shorts are what we should have been seeing with Anakin in the movies, because it made sense by the time we got to the Sith Lord why he had made that choice. Anakin's choice still makes no sense. Watch the movies. Don't watch Clone Wars. Just watch the movies. He literally goes from, I'm going to do the right thing finally, to, oh, fuck, I want to keep my wife alive. Okay, fuck it.
It's like, never mind.
Fuck it.
I'm not going to kill him.
He's not like, you don't hear him. I mean, a little bit in Attack of the Clones when he's flirting. He's like, oh, I don't know. I think order and control is good. You get some of that. But he's not like, oh, my empire, if we just have order and control, there will be peace. He wasn't all nuts like that.
No, he definitely was not into that fucking camp yet.
Yeah, I mean, they just barely scratched the surface on why he was butthurt by what the other Jedi Masters were doing to him. They should have, gone deeper into that. You saw that through here. I mean, Dooku, you could tell, I don't think he was totally bummed out that Mace got chosen to ascend, but you could tell he's like, yeah, figures, fucking leave old Dooku out here because I think a little differently than you fucking, you lemmings, you arms of the Senate. And it was so well done with Dooku, and it just reminded me, like, fuck, man, did they mess that up with Anakin? But it can be done, and we got it with Dooku through Tales of the Jedi. All right, so if you couldn't tell from my quick review, it wasn't quick at all, but we both liked it. All right, Nick, so why don't we just do some episode rankings to start, and then we'll go through some top moments. So I'll start with my number one, then you can talk about your number one. We'll kind of see where we end up from here. So when it came to ranking the episodes in order, because I know humans, we need to do this for some reason.
Let me pull up all of it.
All right.
So I can see the names. Okay, got them.
My number one was the Sith Lord. Okay, the final Dooku episode, you could call it the Phantom Menace prequel, whatever you want to call it, or TPM 2.0. But that was definitely my favorite episode of the 6 because of a lot of stuff we just talked about.
Yeah. So for me, I'll stick with Practice is Perfect just because of how much of a direct line that drew to what we had seen in episode 7. So that was the one where Ahsoka's practicing the drills.
All right,
with
so
the clones and stuff.
Since you brought that one up, I had that at my 6th spot, which is interesting.
Yeah, you had that one last.
So I didn't hate it at all. And like you, I loved how the episode was purely built to lead into that moment in Victory and Death to kind of justify how Ahsoka, who wasn't even a Jedi at this point, could survive Order 66 with literally a battalion of clones trying to kill her. So that was beautiful. But the episode itself was literally just one big training montage until the end.
Yeah.
It was like a little bit of dialogue, montage, and it's over. So that's why Practice Makes Perfect came in the 6th spot for me. Okay. Number 2 for me, Nick, and I credit this to being a parent myself and just my love of the character. But I appreciated Life and Death, which was the first Ahsoka episode, seeing her as a baby and learning more about the culture of her people and how the women have to take the babies out on a fucking hunt after a year, and seeing Ahsoka tap into the Force for the first time, and obviously what all that would mean for the rest of her life. So I don't know. I like it. I liked it from the parent perspective. I got a little feels from that, having my own daughter, and just this character who I've come to really appreciate and love over the years. It was cool to truly see her origin story, if you will.
Yeah.
So what'd you have in at number 2?
My 2, mine are going to be real easy from here because 2, 3, 4 are the reverse order of all of the all the Dooku ones. So Sith Lord is my number 2.
Okay. All right.
And that one would kind of clear why that, we talked about that one.
Well, yeah, the other thing, and I'll bring it up in top moments a little bit more in depthly, but we finally got some clarity on Yaddle, but more on that later.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you go with your number 3 then?
3 is Choices, which is the second of the Dooku episodes, the one where where they are going to talk to the senator and stuff like that, and he gets killed, and the senator gets killed and shit like that, and then that's when Windu becomes a Jedi master,
right? And
they essentially Windu tells him it was between me and you, and then you got this guy killed, and I just said, don't do it.
Yeah, and Dooku's well, did you know you were up for this before this mission? Is that why you were busting my balls and trying to make me do everything? That was a good episode, but I had Choices at 4 for me. But yeah, it's like we said, the Dooku stuff wins. Okay, so my number 3 was Resolve, the final Ahsoka episode. And it's just, look, I love the character, but I liked seeing the moment where she realized, kind of like Cassian is starting to experience now, that someone like her can't live a normal life. I would assume this. I looked it up. This episode supposedly took place 18 BBY, so this would have been within the first year or two of the Empire's rise.
Yeah, and apparently this episode is semi based off of the Ahsoka novel that came out.
I'll touch on that, Nick, because I actually dove deeper into that, and here's kind of where we're at with the book and the episode. You kind of have to, at this point, say Dave's vision in the episode is the new canon. Otherwise, it seems weird to talk about that Ahsoka, a Force user on the run, somehow got found out by 2 different Inquisitors on 2 different farms and got away both times with Bail Organa's help. So I think at this point we have to look at Resolve as the true canon of this period of her life, because there are some slight changes from the book, but there are also some direct crossovers from the book. But, it's just really... I like the flow of the whole episode because it's literally it picks up directly after we last see her in the Clone Wars, after her and Rex survive. It has to be, they left that planet that ship crashed on and flew to fucking Naboo. I thought that was kind of choice. I like that shit. But just seeing Ahsoka trying to hide who she is, and then just wrecking that Inquisitor. Like I thought that'd be a bit of a battle, but that was kind of like the Kenobi Maul fight on Tatooine, where she is so at peace with herself. And, dark side users are always full of rage and a little crazy, that she just sat there and was like, all right, go ahead, make your move, and you're dead.
Yeah, I think that was my problem with it, is like, we've seen so many episodes or so many snippets of episodes from different characters that are almost exactly like that now. Like, that's what the whole fucking Jedi First Order is based off of. We've already seen Kenobi do it. Like, we've already seen a lot of people do essentially very similar things, which is not a problem, because like that's what Jedi at that time had to do, and like they're all going to be like they're all going to encounter a situation like that, and like because of their nature, they're going to help them, whether it be instinctually or if they choose to do it. And then you see the fallout. So it's just like a story that we've seen multiple times already.
I do kind of wish that the brother got killed. Like, I hate fucking snakes. I hate rats. I hate people that think they know better than everyone else. And I really hate Imperial bootlickers. So I do wish that he was one of the people that got his head lopped off. But sadly, he survives. Now, in terms of the Inquisitor, I know there's a lot of people asking. He was not credited as a direct Inquisitor. But if you, again, look at the book that this is somewhat based off of, that would have been the sixth brother. So,
yeah.
And why does his head fucking disappear? I don't know. Could be one of these.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I'm very confused.
Gas
about
people,
that.
like, it could be like a Wat Tambor, and he needs like this system to breathe. Who the fuck knows?
Maybe. Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing out there. Like, trust me, I went and dug, and there no one really has any good, even just made up bullshit for this guy. So okay, my resolve was 3. What was your 4?
My 4 is the first Dooku
Justice
episode.
Then okay,
Justice. Yeah, I mean, because it's like at first, because like when you watch this episode, you see the darkness, like you see that there is conflict, Force choking people, like Qui-Gon has to come over and stop him, but like you see the discord inside of Dooku already, and you can see that he has his own way of like meting out justice. But then, like, as the other episodes come along, you realize that it's not just a darkness that he has inside of himself for no reason. It's a disillusionment that's been growing and growing because of the lack of you would say, like, I don't even know. It's like just the lack of overall foresight from the Jedi Order and not realizing what they've become.
Right. I mean, they're pawns of a corrupt Senate, so therefore they too are corrupt. I mean, that's what he saw, and that's really what happened, and that's why they were so easily bamboozled by some old guy named Sidious. And really, I think Mace Windu is the embodiment of that hubris that Luke was talking about. I mean, he is that guy. Like, we're the fucking Jedi. We can never do anything wrong. Even though we work for the Senate, we're still our own people. They would never, use us for nefarious purposes, when that's all they were doing. I mean, that's literally, that's all the Senate was doing, probably for many, 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 many years, until it was toppled in Episode 4, A New Hope.
It's just like little things. At first it starts small. It's like, oh, well, I know that you guys are the peacekeepers of the galaxy, but hey, help us out, because we're working towards the same goal, is essentially like what the Senate and the Republic sell them at first. And then that goes all the way up to, we're now in a war and you are our battlefield generals. Like, that is how, like, little things over time, and it's seeming to be, oh, well, that's not a big deal because it's small. That's not a big deal because it's small. It compounds and compounds and compounds until you, the peacekeepers of the galaxy, are now fighting on the front lines of a war that you have no business even being involved.
Hey, Nick, the other thing is, like, I don't know if you looked this deep into it and tried to correlate it to real life, which, I mean, all these shows we love are based on real life. I mean, the people writing them are humans that live the life, or live in the world we do. And I think the message here, really, that we're getting through the Dooku episodes in particular, is, in the end, governments, they can start out the right way. They can start out wanting to do the right thing. But ultimately, over time, the arms of a government, the Senate, the Senate's Justice, aka the Jedi, they ultimately end up just being wielded and used for those with power and money. I mean, look at modern governments around the world. I won't even pick on America, although that's very easy to see who our government serves over who it should be serving. And that's what Dooku was essentially realizing in Justice and on Beyond. It's like, this guy, the senator, I mean, look how his people live. Even his son is essentially calling him an asshole. And then he's going to come and murder everyone. Like that's not right. Why am I here to be a de facto defender of this fucking guy? And he snaps. And I think it's justified, aka justice. That type of justice, in my opinion, was justified, even though it was very un-Jedi-like. And as he said, he drops that line on Obi-Wan or on Qui-Gon, like, you know what, you are a wiser man than I. And you know, I think he was thankful that Qui-Gon was able to stop him. But like Nick said, it was just all these years of seeing the corruption and knowing he was being used as a tool to help the corrupt. It just wore him down, and he sought alternative path, and that just happened to be the dark side. That's where he made the wrong choice. Once those hooks were in, as Nick was explaining earlier in the cast, it was over for Dooku. Just like it was over for Anakin the moment he chopped off Mace's arm and bent the knee. Like they no longer were able to think on their own, do what they wanted. They became a part of his thought bubble and his plan, and they were really just an extension of Sidious. Okay, so my 5 was Justice. So what was your last then?
So my 5 is Life and Death, and then my 6 is Resolve.
All right.
So that's how mine goes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I already said my piece on Resolve. Like,
right. We're good on that.
It's played out. We've seen it a lot of times. For Life and Death, I thought it was a long tale to show Ahsoka's connection with animals, essentially. Like, you know, to show that like her force sensitivity can lend itself to like animal bonds, which is also why, you know, what's the name of the fucking bird
Morai.
That's always. Yes, the Morai, like her connection with the Morai. We see that connection play through with the saber-toothed tiger that almost kills her parents or kills her mother and almost, you know, eats her as a child. Like it was fun to see that, but like I was watching that and I was like, I know where we're getting already. Like it took way too long. Like even in an episode that's only 14 minutes long, I was like, you can tell very early where this is going, and it just took too long
as I said
there.
in my initial review of that one and why it's high on my list. I think a lot of it was the parent of a daughter
it's like
thing,
being an actual parent.
Like I really you know felt some connections there. So all right, so let's go ahead and do some top moments, and then we'll move on from Tales of the Jedi. We've probably mentioned a few of these at this point, but I just want to make sure we hit them all. We can go through these rapid fire unless a discussion is warranted. So up first, if I can quit fucking clicking off of the picture, you stupid finger. I'm just going in the order of the episodes as they were released. So episode 1 through 6. So we're going to start with Life and Death. Nick, I found kind of 2 top moments in this episode. And really, as I explained earlier, one of the reasons I enjoyed this episode was just kind of seeing the culture of her people. I really felt like Ahsoka came from a, you know, if we want to talk real world, like a Native American tribe. It really felt like that type of feel. You know, they had a lot of tradition and rituals, the 1-year hunt with the moms, not the dads, the face painting and all that stuff. You know, facing death so young. I mean, that was the point of that spirit walk. Like Ahsoka's mom made the baby Ahsoka watch her kill that deer. And I don't know. I like that that spirit walk type of shit. And then just seeing Ahsoka tame the beast, kind of make it her ally, and then, you know, the whole moment of her returning. That's all, you know, warm and fuzzies, Nick. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm old and I got a little emotional over that stuff. So that's kind of what I thought stood out in Life and Death.
I'll agree there. I don't have any other like real top moments from that too. Obviously, like the big thing to me was just like the taming of the beast, and then.
Okay, so moving on to Justice, I also had 2 in here. It is crazy how big Dooku's jawline gets by the time he makes it to the Clone Wars, but I digress. I'm not going to waste time on that. But I mean, as a Star Wars fan, a diehard, how could you not love finally seeing Count Dooku and Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn together? I mean, that's some fan service right there. I dug it. I liked their relationship. It did feel kind of Qui-Gon-y, Obi-Wan-y, you know what I mean? Where you can kind of see why Qui-Gon wasn't your prototypical Jedi Master by the time TPM came around, because of who his master was. And as we've been saying through this whole Tales of the Jedi segment is, I mean, Dooku to me has been reborn thanks to Tales of the Jedi. Like, he's so much more intriguing to me. He's such a deeper character. So it was nice to see him with his Padawan. And and then just we talked about the scene earlier, but seeing him dabble with the dark side. I mean, he tapped in a little bit when his patience wore out with the senator. You know, he tried deflecting some blaster bolts. The guy was not relenting. So Dooku was like, all right, enough's enough. I'm going to go ahead and use my superpowers, and starts to almost kill him. But then, you know, you see his Padawan come in and pull him back from the ledge. You know, something that you could argue if Qui-Gon didn't die and he found out what Dooku did, like Yaddle did, Qui-Gon may have been someone that could have pulled him back, where Yaddle clearly could not. So that's
he didn't have that relationship.
Yeah, I mean that's just Yaddle. Again, like there's so much weight added to the Phantom Menace now because of these Dooku episodes. But really, Nick, I just, this showed us how Jedi can do dark things because they think they're doing the right thing. You know, and you don't get that in the live action movies with Anakin at all. You don't. It's absent. So,
like you said, just like these 3 10 to 15 minute long episodes did a better job of showing Dooku's fall to the dark side than it did.
It's not even close.
3+ movies.
It's not even close. You get one moment in the 3 movies, and that's the post Tusken Raider, you know, after action report with Padme. That's it. Even then, he just did a bad thing to be bad, to be revengeful. Like Dooku wasn't even doing that type of shady shit. He would. I'm telling you right now, if I was Dooku's apprentice here, I probably would have been like, you know what? Fucking kill the guy. He deserves to die. And then I'd probably run through and slice up the rest of his platoon. But, you know, I'm a shithead. All right. Good episode, though. I'm starting to wonder why I ranked that one so lowly. But it was good. It was good. Jedi, you really did. That was the first time you saw, like, all right, Jedi can get dark because they truly think they're doing the right thing. And I honestly think Dooku was doing the right thing. Hey, Sir Dork showed up. Check this out. I'm wearing my Sir Dork shirt today. He showed up last week. He went through something I hope never happens to us, Nick. Someone hacked his YouTube channel. And he's got like a real one with almost 40,000 subs. And I can't even imagine what the pit in his stomach. And luckily for him, he was able to actually get it back, which usually isn't the case. So I was following that drama closely, and I'm glad Jared was able to work that shit out. So he actually made a video. Go watch it on how it happened,
how to get it back,
why it happened, and how he got it back. So go ahead and check that out if you fucked up and got your account stolen because you got phished. Moral of the story is, don't click on shit. And if you click on it, definitely don't put in your information.
Don't put in your login.
You know what I mean? But I'm glad he got that back because he's a good dude, and that would have sucked. Like, I don't even know what I would do, and we don't even have a following. You know what I mean? Like, we don't even have a following. And to me, it would feel like I just lost, you know, almost a decade of my life. So, all right. Moving into choices, another Dooku episode, one with Dickhead Mace Windu present. We'll start with why Mace is a dickhead and why the Count thought so. I mean, you had to love that scene where he tells Mace, like, hey man, you follow the rules too much. I mean, more or less, it's like, dude, really? Like, everything has to always be by the book? So that was nice, kind of setting up Mace's.
And I also like how the
dickishness.
one time that he tried, like, ultimately for Windu, the one time where he's like, nope, I'm going to go against the book, is the one time he gets fucking iced. He's like, no, I'm going to kill him. He's too dangerous to be kept alive.
Yeah.
And then he gets fucking iced.
Yeah, good job, Mace, dickhead. The other one, and really, you could see it, and I've got the screenshot up on the live stream. If not, we got these posts on StarWarsTime.net if you want to check them out as you're listening to the podcast-only version. But when Dooku, even more so than justice and choices, you can see that he knows for a fact that the Jedi are being used as pawns by the Senate. Because this episode was great. You kind of learned through the soldiers that they were trying to kill their senator because the senator is fucking them over. Very similar to what happened in episode 1. The theme was the same. Senators corrupt, fucking their people. Jedi come in to essentially help the senators when it's the people they need to be helping. So
exactly.
I mean, you could just lots of things were clicking in Dooku's head when that trooper finally gave the testimony. Like, listen, we were the ones that sadly had to kill the fucking Jedi Master, but it's because we were trying to kill this idiot for stealing everything. And that was just another reason for Dooku to really start to question his place with the Jedi and really what the Order was doing. What direction was this group of space wizards actually moving into? I mean, how it goes into in the actual prison where Dooku is kind of emphasizing with the locked up prisoner that he's murdered his
I'm on
friend.
Your side.
Yeah, he's like, listen, man, you murdered my friend, but he said, I wrote this down. He says, people have the right to defend their planet. And that's starting to sound like separatist Dooku. Okay. I know he was just playing a role and playing Palpatine's long game, but in the end, his pitch was something he believed himself. Like, listen, you don't need this big Republican senators to defend and protect you. You have the right to defend yourself. And that's what the CIS was.
What the separatists.
Yeah, they didn't want to be forced into a republic. They wanted to manage their planet their way. And then finally, Nick talked about this, but we got to see in this episode how Mace ascended to the council, and it was because of Katri's death. And you could just feel, and Nick already said it, you could feel the tension between these two during this conversation. I mean, Dooku congratulated him, but it was very, kind of almost under his breath type of deal. Like, hey, good for you, Mace. You're such a swell fucking guy, aren't you? Like that.
Just
like,
through gritted teeth, indeed.
You fucking tool bag him. He even says, like, yo, bro, did you know this before we went on this mission? Is this why? Are you going to rat me out? Is this you trying to make yourself look better? So I dug that. Okay, top moments from the Sith Lord. I think we probably spewed a lot of these, but I just being a lore freak, absolutely loved just the non-speaking opening where you see Dooku creeping around in the library, getting into the archives, casually logging in as SWTS and deleting Kamino. A major plot point of Attack of the Clones. So there we go. You get that. You get that nice little background given to you.
Yeah, overall, just like just having Yaddle as a character, like, she was always like this mysterious, like, who's this other Yoda character here that we never hear talk and is never seen again? Like, actually having that thread closed and having her like play a major role in the fate of Count Dooku.
Oh no, yeah. I mean that was
awesome.
definitely on my list. And as Nick said, we finally figure out what happened to her, because until now, she just fucking disappeared in between TPM and clones. She was on the council, then she's gone. It's like, okay, they just didn't feel like paying for 2 CG Yoda characters or what? Because she just disappeared and you got nothing. And now we know everything. We know why she was off the council, and we also know why she is not present in the temple, because Dooku killed her. And another interesting thing we learned, Nick, I think now we can say with 100% confidence that Yoda either has a speech impediment or chooses to talk like an asshole, because it is not a race thing. Yaddle, through Bryce Dallas Howard, who voiced her, spoke nice, clean, basic English. Yeah. So
yeah, just very, very simple. So yeah, Yoda, I have no idea. I can't. We will never get an explanation for why Yoda talks that way. I don't think so. But it also now.
I read somewhere,
like,
Nick.
What I was going to say is
go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. What'd you read?
I read somewhere, I don't know if it comes from High Republic, but apparently Yoda's master would talk in riddles, and that's why he does it to honor him. But I don't know if that's
Yoda's
real.
master too was like this very weird. It was like Ula Keldroma, I think, and he was like a really weird guy. I don't know if he's still like Yoda's master canonically,
right?
But I think he was.
So,
or I could be getting those old Jedi fucking confused.
Everyone that wants Grogu to talk like Yoda, that probably isn't the case. It does. Dave has made a choice, and the choice is Yaddle speaks straight up. She doesn't talk like she has, had a few death sticks, possibly some acid. You never know. Okay.
Never mind. Ula Keldroma is like an old Republic, like Jedi turned Sith. But yeah.
I saw it pop up somewhere. It was probably on Reddit leaks from some guy called like Bob's Wookiee's Mom 69. So who knows?
Yeah, I can't remember. Like let me see. Yoda. What is
Yoda's
who was his master? Canon. Masters. It says Garo.
Oh yeah,
Stone Power Master, and then Qui-Gon Jinn. It was his spiritual master for like how do you go onto the dark side, and then it just says a Jedi master.
Oh, okay, yeah, that guy, a
Jedi,
master, the best Jedi master ever. Not a Jedi master. His name is A. Okay, so a few more top moments from the Sith Lord. I liked how he came out. He's like, "Hey, Jocasta, what's all the commotion about?" She's like, "Oh, you didn't hear? Your very own Qui-Gon ran into a Sith." And the temple's all abuzz, and Dooku's just like, "Oh yeah, you sure?" And we learned in the end that he knew. Like at this point, he's already working with Sidious, and he knew Maul was the apprentice. So that was another fun revelatory moment from this episode. Nick mentioned this earlier, but you had to appreciate the scene where they're out in that courtyard and Dooku recounts on young Qui-Gon and how Qui-Gon was born on Coruscant, never saw nature. And so when he saw that tree at the Jedi Temple, it was like this magical thing. And you realize, it took me a minute to like, okay, what's this scene about? But it made you realize that this was after he learned that Qui-Gon died at the hands of Darth Maul. And he's sitting there reflecting. And you have to think, knowing what we know now, like how shitty he must feel here. He lost his Padawan, but he lost it to the dark side master he's assisting now. Like he's indirectly responsible in Qui-Gon dying. So he's really feeling that shit. And that was a heavy scene there for Dooku, because right after that is when he leaves to head to the works to go report into his new master. And that's where we learned that, Yaddle figured it out, and we had a nice little duel. And just as you thought that, she was going to survive, she used everything she had in that little green body to get the door open, just come in and give him that one look to make him kill her with her eyes open, and he decides to do it. So
yeah. The only thing that I wish was in that episode is if we would have got his Sith name, like Darth Tyrannus, like kind of like the moment where it's Rise, Lord Vader.
Right. So here's
would have been like
real
Rise.
Quick. We'll go on a quick tangent here. I don't necessarily think the rule of two was broken, even though Sidious and Dooku were working together. It really,
he was not expressly his.
It felt like he was more errand boy at this point, because he's like, listen, I did the clones, I deleted the records, this, and how many people are going to die because of my actions.
All of these people.
Yeah, he's feeling pretty bad. What the hell were we talking about? Oh. So I don't think the rule. I think we can massage the rule of two thing there, but the Darth Tyrannus thing is curious, Nick, because you would think if he gets his name, he is the apprentice, but we know that he met Jango as Darth Tyrannus, but at this point in time, the clones had already been ordered. So I think that's the one issue we kind of get into here is he was telling Jango he's Darth Tyrannus, but Darth Maul was still around. He was the apprentice. So did Palpatine break the rule of two? Sort of. You know what I mean? I mean, in the end, it doesn't mean shit, but it does get a little confusing.
Yeah, it does. It kind of gets a little lost in the weeds there, but yeah, I would have liked to see the Tyrannus name officially kind of bestowed upon him.
Lord Tyrannus. That's another name. Like, I guess it sounds strong and powerful, but I feel like George just looked out the window and saw like a T-Rex commercial and was like, yeah, fuck it, Tyrannus. Because SWTS, I still believe he's like, oh, I called this guy Sidious.
SWTS. Okay, is just like the most.
Fuck it, it's not the same. I mean, it almost sounds the same, but it's not. I still swear when I watch Attack of the Clones and they're like, oh yeah, SWTS, I'm just going, what? Like, please tell me this was just Sidious using like a code name and he was just being lazy and just changed it a little bit. But no, it was literally a real character called SWTS. Like, what the fuck, George? We love you. All right. Moving on to Practice Makes Perfect top moments. One that I bet everyone missed, and you probably didn't know until you didn't watch my breakdown. But when Ahsoka is kicking ass and taking droid names in the opening, that young Jedi sitting there, that's Caleb Doom, my friends, a.k.a. Kanan Jarrus. So I thought that was neat that as a Padawan, he's kind of in there getting hyped up watching an older Padawan in Ahsoka who has had much more training and practice, has been in battle at the Clone Wars, just watching her go. Like, he was like standing up, almost cheering, like, oh my God, Deepa, do you see what she's doing? She's so amazing. So I like that little connection there, including Caleb in the temple scenes.
That was fun, yeah. And then just like, see, I love the scene where Anakin's like, you think that was a test? I'll give you the real test.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a psycho.
You know, this is just some bullshit for the fucking council to make them feel better about themselves. If you really want to be a badass Jedi like me, I'll show you.
No, it was good. Like, everyone else, you know, even Caleb's like, oh, Ahsoka's the best, and Yoda and Kenobi, like, oh, good job, you're the best.
Impressive.
And then they get out. You tell Anakin's annoyed, and she's like, what? Am I not good enough? And he pretty much is like, yeah, you're not. You suck, and I'll show you why. This is what you need to do. So you gotta love Anakin still, just bucking the system, always thinking he knew better than the rest. But as we've talked about in the final top moment in this episode, it's just we got to see that Anakin's training and kind of breaking from the Jedi way and more or less torturing his Padawan. He is the direct reason that in Victory and Death, her and Rex are able to survive Order 66. It's that training against live clones, knowing their tendencies, knowing how to sense their movements through the Force, that she was able to, without even her sabers for the most part, avoid getting killed by Order 66 and not killing clones. That's the other big thing. So this was Nick's number one episode, and it really does shine because of that direct through line. Here's the training. Yeah. Oh, it's just training, but this is why we showed you that. This is why Anakin did this, because it directly influenced her story. Without that training, if she just relied on that bot training, Ahsoka Tano dies on that ship.
Definitely.
And
good stuff there, and
then finally into Resolve. I said this earlier when I was talking about it during our rankings, but I love knowing that Ahsoka was at Padme's funeral, and knowing that she could have been targeted, arrested, and killed. But I love those opening scenes where she's there, Bail sees her, she runs away, and she's like, and he's like, why the fuck would you come here? Like, come on. Because you got to think, people, I mean, this is literally right when the Empire starts. I mean, this is immediately after Order 66. This is This is during Revenge of the Sith. That conversation
right at the end
happens at Padme's funeral. So I like that type of lore, seeing those connections. And as Dave has told us, and why we all love Star Wars, these are the fucking through lines that bring us back. Is seeing something like this, many years later after Revenge of the Sith, and now being able to piece it all together. Like, oh shit. Next time you watch Revenge of the Sith and you see the funeral scene, Ahsoka's right there. And she's going to have a talk with Bail. And that talk is essentially what is going to lead her to joining the Rebel Alliance as Fulcrum. So that I loved. You get to see Rex was there, literally still in the blue BTL. I'm telling you, these two left that planet from Victory and Death and went right to Naboo. I like that type of shit, even though on the surface it's just a scene. And then finally, like I said, we get to see in some form of moving pictures Ahsoka Tano make the choice to join the Rebel movement. Which finally, now, Nick, I think gives us a little more insights into Bad Batch Season 1, because, we saw Rex and we see him talking to someone and he's talking about, doing Rebel activity. And there's a chance that is not Ahsoka that he's networking with at that point in time, because like I said, this Ahsoka on the farm was supposed to be around, maybe it could have been 18 BBY. So it would have been within a year or a few months after the fall of the Empire. But it was odd that Bail said, it's been a long time. I didn't think you would ever used a communicator, essentially, right? Didn't he kind of hint at that? So was a long time months? Yeah. Was it a year? Was it 2 years tops? But I don't think Ahsoka, as I imagined, now it's clear. I don't have to think. She didn't get right into being a freedom fighter. No.
She did the same thing as Cal Kestis did. Like, she went underground and tried to essentially lead a normal life outside of the Jedi Order and just lay low as much as she could.
Right. So. And she, like Kenobi, they all eventually realized that they just can't. They cannot
can't do it.
They just can't do it. It's just their past will catch up with them at some point in time. All right. So there is our Tales of the Jedi mega breakdown. Hopefully you got what you needed. If not, like I said, I've got individual reviews, Easter eggs, all that type of shit on YouTube.com/Star Wars Time Show. All right. Got a few things before the fan segment, and those few things happen to deal with another fan favorite franchise, and that is The Mandalorian. So MSW Making Star Wars has been active this week, dropping some reports. This is an outlet that I have a lot of confidence in, so I do think these are probably legitimate reports, although you should still take them with the understanding that until stuff is officially announced, anything can happen. You know what I mean? All right. So first and foremost, for The Mandalorian Season 3, MSW is reporting that we will get the final trailer on Christmas Day. So
have we gotten any trailers so far?
Yeah, there was it was like a slightly repurposed, slightly new footage from D23. So that was like its first trailer, but it's sounding like we're going to get a final trailer on Christmas Day for The Mandalorian Season 3. And apparently the trailer is going to feature Christopher Lloyd's unconfirmed Mandalorian faction leader character. All right. And the last thing on the trailer is MSW said it's going to be one of those trailers that, Nick and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, is the trailer just edited in a way to make us think the tone's going to be a certain direction? But that's what MSW is saying. This trailer is going to kind of really put it in our face that Bo and Din are just adversaries the entire season. But according to MSW, that's not necessarily the case. They're actually kind of allies for a good part of it. And then some shit happens. All right, so that's your first Mandalorian Season 3 news. And like I said, I do think this is going to be legit. So look for Mando S3 trailer Christmas Day. I kind of dig that because Christmas is one day where I think I can just disconnect from Star Wars and I just won't do anything with it. It'll eat me up a little bit.
I think
but I'll be like, fuck it. It's Christmas Day. I don't care. We'll talk about it next week. The other bit of news, and one that I'm more excited about, is MSW now has the supposed release date of The Mandalorian Season 3. So we know the window has been February, but now we know the day, and that's going to be February 22. All right, so February 22nd, 2023 should be the premiere for The Mandalorian Season 3. Now,
cool.
It's not known if it's a multi-episode drop. I hope to the fucking force it's not. I really want to get away from that type of shit because double any type of Star Wars content on a single day is not good for my mental health or physical health. So,
True.
All right, so Mando S3, Christmas Day trailer, February 22 premiere date. Mark those calendars. All right, last one on The Mandalorian. Our pal Jon Favreau was talking, and he dropped an interesting quote. Although, if you've been kind of paying attention, reading the tea leaves, it really shouldn't make your head explode. Okay, so this is in relation to Skeleton Crew and The Mandalorian. So Favreau, he was talking to somebody. Who the fuck knows? Who cares? It wasn't us. But here's a quote we got. Skeleton Crew is great. You know, me and John Watts were on a set of Spider-Man, and I was sniffing out if it might be something he'd be into doing, and he's like, here's the whole idea of what I would do. We were just talking and on set, and I called Dave. I was in Atlanta, and I was like, Dave, this sounds like a really good idea. And we hopped on a Zoom call, and he pitched what it was, just the very basic strokes, and it was great. It focuses on young people. It's always good having new characters coming in, and there's so many different genres now in Star Wars. You know, you have Andor, which is intrigue and a thriller. You have adventure with The Mandalorian, a samurai adventure with Ahsoka. So to have this young, Amblin feeling movie with young people seeing it for the first time, he's saying young people seeing the universe for the first time who grew up in this Star Wars world and are exposed to an adventure. The puppets, the costumes, the visuals, the world that's being expanded upon, and now I get to write the next season of The Mandalorian with all these new characters, all these new locations, all these new creatures. So keeps adding more and more to this cohesive group of stories being told. So if you fell asleep during that long quote, what he is saying is he's now writing Mandalorian Season 4, and there's a good chance Skeleton Crew characters are going to be in it. Okay?
Cool.
Right. Does this surprise anyone, considering the Mandiverse is a shared universe?
Interconnected shared universe?
Favreau's, do you have some tech die on you?
I had to switch my headphones because
yeah,
it seems like I get to the 2.5+ hour mark, and
that's it.
All
right, there you go. Yeah, as long as you fix your voice, I'm good with it. Yeah. But otherwise, it sounds like you're trapped in a tin can, like in a basement.
Yeah,
hey, everybody!
made the microphone switch over. Yeah, I don't know. I may have to find headphones that last long.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said,
yeah,
it's. So I guess real quick. So there is a little bit of meat here. If we're talking about kids, I mean, do you think just the kids show up in Mando Season 4, or does Jude as the adult, is he kind of in the foray, and how the hell, like, what is the crossover, you think? Like, what's the tie-in? Do they become like a Cobb Vanth, like someone that he checks in with after he knows them, or what say you?
I think it might be like a crossing paths kind of thing, because I think it would be cooler to me if like the quote-unquote skeleton crew was already together, like they were already a crew, and then the Mando Din and whoever he's with in Season 4 at that point, who the fuck knows, like, kind of has like an episode run-in with that crew, and then, you know, they help him out in some way, shape, or form, almost more like a Bill Burr character type of deal, where like run in, you get your deal done with them, you go your separate ways, and then hey, maybe you cross over again. So I would like to see it that way, instead of being like interspersed parts that are kind of like, oh, well, here's Jude, and then like here's the kid, here's like one kid and here's another kid. I think it would be cooler if it was just like the whole crew already together and then they kind of have a run-in.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be something like Cobb, how Cobb's been used. You know, they'll get introduced in Skeleton Crew, so fans will be familiar with them. But come Mandalorian Season 4, they'll probably pop up, like you said, as a faction themselves, and more than likely they're probably going to be good guys-ish. They are kids, for Christ's sake, so like how dark and crazy will their story actually get? So there you go. Shouldn't really surprise anyone, like I said, as long as you've been paying attention. All right, my friend, it is that time of the show to move into the final segment, which is everyone's favorite, and that is the fan segment. That's right. Tried and true, tested every week. We are one of the only Star Wars fan podcasts to actually dedicate time to our fans. So the first way fans can get involved is the question of the week, which gets posted on our Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. Who knows? Sometimes Monday evening, most of the time Tuesday morning. So just check at Star Wars Time Show on Instagram, look in stories, look in our posts, check the prompt, leave your thoughts. You might make the show. All right, Nick, so let's go ahead and see what the fans had to say this week.
There were only 4 responses this week total.
Oh boy.
So there I don't know if there were some in the stories, but I only pull from the actual posts. So there were only 4, and these are all of them. So first up, TBS Data Vault.
Oh, hold on. The question was, just in case there is like one new person. What was your favorite or least favorite part from Andor Episode 8 and Narkina 5? All right.
Narkina 5. So there we go. So TBS Data Vault says, didn't really have a favorite moment this week, but really love the overall aesthetics and vibe of this episode. I also agree with Johnny Osage Av, which we will get to. He says, regarding the THX 1138 feel, would have been great to get a Robert Duvall cameo.
Robbie.
Can't wait to see where all the buildup leads to in a little over a week. Long live Lord Gilroy, says TBS Data Vault. And then Johnny Osage Av, so TBS was referencing Mr. Johnny. He says, I love the THX 1138 vibes from the prison and work area, intended or not by Lord Gilroy, and of course the return of Snoke. Do you think that Kino is just Snoke? Do you think that
no, I don't think he's Snoke, but the Empire's gonna be like, you know what, this guy was really good at being a supervisor, so let's save his DNA and then we'll turn it into Snoke. Yep.
We'll juice him up. So good stuff there from Johnny Osage. Thank you very much. Christopher Weber, 33. He's back again from last week. He says, since most of last week's episode was spent locked up in the clink, that's all I seem to be remembering. I'm not complaining, though. I enjoyed all of the tension built in the episode. We know that Cassian and Melchi get out at some point. All of the foreshadowing of how that might happen was super intriguing. Also, what in the devil are the prisoners building? In my mind, those parts look like midsection of probe/destroyer droids, like what we've seen used in flashbacks of the massacre on Mandalore.
Christopher Weber's about to get put into the top 5, I think.
Coming up. He's making his way up the fandom. He says, thanks for all you guys do for the Star Wars fan community.
Well, thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Chris.
You know, we need like 10,000. If we had like a bunch of Christopher Weavers, Klondikes, Tones, Lima 4 is another one. Lima, that guy, I really do feel like I need to send him a trophy, because every week on my YouTube videos, he's usually one of the first people in there like,
popping in.
Best fucking Star Wars show out there. You guys, I promise you, don't look at the run times. Just give them a listen. You'll love them. Just
listen. You don't have to listen all in one sit down. You can listen in multiple sessions.
But like, in all seriousness, like this is why I do this shit, my friends. I could care less about making money, YouTube ad. I don't give a fuck. It's being recognized. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that says about the black hole in my soul, but that's it. I just want people to be like, hey, you know what? You guys actually do some sort of service that is worth tuning into.
Pretty good.
So thank you.
Y'all aren't half bad.
Thank you.
You're only 3/4 bad.
Yeah, you're okay. You're at least mediocre.
Yeah. All right. And the last one from this week is Tones 1138. I wonder what 1138 comes from.
Right.
Seeing Snoke / not Snoke, Andy Serkis make a physical addition to the Star Wars universe. Also, Diego's phenomenal acting in this episode. He had very few lines throughout the entire show, but the portrayal of his emotions after entering the prison was incredible. Two outstanding actors
Tones
at
is
the
right.
top of their
Tones
game.
is right. I honestly think Diego's been great the whole series, but this was his episode, really. It's hard. I would imagine it's harder to act without dialogue. I would guess. Yeah, because it's all it's all face muscles, really. So, all right, good stuff. Well, that
physical portrayal of
four fucking responses.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh my God! Why do we do this shit? It's like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me,
weeks,
bro. I see accounts on Instagram that have zero originality. They repurpose everyone else's short form content and just slap it on their channel and monetize it. And they have thousands and thousands and thousands of followers and thousands of comments on their posts. It's just like, what did I do wrong this time? Like, how did I fuck up this venture too? I'm not just Star Wars 1, 2, 3 guy, and all I do is regurgitate everyone else's work, and somehow I become a massive fan page. Oh well, I digress. Let's move into the second part of the fan segment, and the last way fans can get involved with the Star Wars Time Show. And this is the big one, my friends. The one why they all flock, and when I say they, I'm talking the 8s and the 5s of our fans, not even the 10s. We can't even say the 10s of our fans, but at least the 1s and the 2s.
The single digits. Yes.
Sometimes it's funny. It's how fucking insignificant we are. I love it. All right, man. Dude, I can't do it.
All right, top 5 Star Wars fan hours features of the week. When you post your Star Wars pictures, make sure to use the hashtag Star Wars Time Show on it, and also tag us at Star Wars Time Show in the post, and then tag us in your image as well.
Dude,
click that little ad tag at Star Wars Time.
I'm looking at the analytics on the channel, and you can see like viewership and listenership starts off here, and then it just like goes down to 0 by the end of the cast. All right, hold on. The special guest is here. Sorry, I know Nick's about ready to pass out. There's my little. She dressed up as Tross Ray yesterday for Halloween. So
nice.
Very had cool. Her pistol and a good looking costume. We got lots of candy, right?
Dressed up as my middle name.
That's right. That is your middle name.
That's right.
And apparently, I got a lot of Kit Kats.
You did get a lot of Kit Kats. All right.
Hey, Kit Kats are awesome.
We're almost done. Okay.
Okay.
It's good to see you. All right. Okay, sorry, dude. I lost it there. I was like in La La Land just thinking about how no one fucking pays attention yet. I dedicate hours and hours and hours a week to this shit. Oh, well, go ahead.
All right, so first up this week in the top 5, we have at SouthP24 with an awesome, like, drag me to hell-esque type of shot here of Boba Fett. And what we see is the Fett man trying to blast his way, looks out of the pit of hell because you can see all the fires under him, and he's just being dragged down by skeletons and zombie stormtroopers and the dead rising from their graves to make sure that he goes to hell where he deserves to go, right?
Yeah, Boba's not getting out of this fucking pit. I can tell you that for free. He's not lighting anyone's esophagus on fire and crawling his way out of this. But you know what? I mean, honestly, for someone that used to really love collecting action figures and wishes he still did because he still has a lot coming but doesn't get the joy out of spending the money, this is a great figure because, Nick, if you look closely, this is a soft goods 1/12 scale Boba Fett. So this is like full custom job. And South P24 has kind of become known for this, making, and only collectors will understand this, but essentially Mezco 1/12 collective high-end figures, but with Star Wars figures. So if you know what I'm talking about and you appreciate the 1/12 collective and the care that goes into that figure line, that's what South P24 is doing here with Star Wars figures, and that's the style of this Boba Fett. They're like miniature Hot Toys. That's what they are. They're fucking 6-inch tall Hot Toys.
Nah, very, very awesome looking shot here. And then, like you said, for the call out on the custom figure for the Boba, just top notch stuff from at South P 24 on.
You know,
Instagram.
he's in here, and I don't want to make him feel bad, but I thought you would have snagged Jason's Halloween 2022 creation, because I think you featured his one from last year, and he did.
I think the only reason I didn't this year is because the only Star Wars one in there was like a Vader costume.
Yeah,
and I think I was like, do I want to add it because it's mostly not Star Wars? You didn't make the cut this year work, more or less. Sorry,
get better.
Jason. Next time, add more Star Wars.
Step up your game for 23, pal.
I really was, because I was like, I saw it and I loved it, obviously, because he's got. So Jason's shot has like Raphael from Ninja Turtles. I think it's Mysterio. Like, is that the guy from When the Earth Stood Still?
Hold on, let me just open it. I'll pull it up.
And then Batman, and then you have a Vader. And I was like, well, there's not like, it's more not Star Wars than it is Star Wars. So I was like,
here it is, right here.
I was like, okay, but it is a good shot. It is a very. I think that's the guy from the day the Earth stood still, right? Like in between Raphael and Batman, or is that Mysterio?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I was like, my eye was right to the Darth Vader. It is. I mean, it's just it's a fun shot. I mean, he crafts these little detailed scenes, and if you just spend time looking around, it's fun. But you know, growing up in the '80s, and I never was a kid, thankfully, that had to get one of these shitty, like Kmart in those days, like a Kmart costume, where it's essentially a plastic smock and a shitty plastic face mask. My mom was actually a talented sewer and would make my costumes. But yeah, it's for us '80s kids. There's some nostalgia baked in.
Shitty costumes always. I think I was Raphael one year for Halloween. I have a picture.
Okay, Jason is saying the artist is tuning in here. He's saying it was just generic Space Girl. So generic Space Girl.
Space Girl.
Yeah, generic Space Girl.
Okay, cool.
There you go. I just wanted. I saw he was in the stream today. I just wanted to yank his chain a little bit. So go ahead.
It's a good shot. All right, next up in the top 5 here is at 850
Hero
Lord,
shot.
and this one is a fucking killer shot. So what we see here is full Beskar Mando, as we just know him now. He was once not full Beskar, now he is. He's sitting there with the Darksaber ignited in the midst of battle. Behind him, Neo Boba Fett with his arm flamethrower ablaze, shooting at somebody off screen, and then right up there in the front, little Grogu with his tiny little lightsaber ready to go. Come on, bitches, let's go. It's just a cool battle scene. You see,
I just look at Grogu's face. Like, I just like his ears are down. You know how like animals, when they're ready to attack, they'll pin their ears, and that, like Grogu's got his ears down. He kind of has like a little shitty look on his face, like he's serious. He's not all happy and
get away
cute.
From my dad.
Yeah, but it's like this family team up here, and I mean, sans lightsaber, there's a good chance we see something like this in season 3. Like if you buy some of the rumors, Grogu's not going to be having a lightsaber, but he's going to be in essentially, plug your ears. I mean, we've talked about this many times before, but just in case, he's essentially going to be in an IG-11 Hulkbuster style armor. So. But yeah, there's a good chance we will actually see Din and Grogu fight side by side versus one saving the other, even though I think Grogu kind of owns that at this point in time. I think Din owes Grogu many, many life debts at this point.
Right?
Like, I don't know if they're square
yet. Just from the fucking very jump. Like,
you got to remember, like you can't even really say he initially saved him, because while he did grab him from Arvala 7, he dropped him off with the client and was getting ready to fly away with his cash, and then he decided to go save him. So he didn't always have the right intentions, but it is a great shot from 850 Sith Lord. There's just something. I'm still never going to be this big Boba Fett fanboy, but there is something about seeing Mandalorians in their full kits together fighting that is, it's sexy, it's strong, and it's powerful, and that's what we get in this shot here.
Very true. So beautiful stuff there at 850 Sith Lord. Make sure to go give them a follow. Next up is a cool shot here from Klondike Studios.
Right, one of the wrenches.
Featuring a rarely seen character, in Ponda Baba, I'm going to assume it's Ponda Baba at least because he's missing an arm, and we know that one of Ponda Baba's arms gets chopped off in the Mos Eisley Cantina scene in the beginning of episode 4. So I'm assuming it's Ponda Baba. He's just been arrested by a squadron of death troopers for some shady business that he was up to. And I just think that it's just such a well executed shot. The soft goods cloak looks great on the Ponda Baba character, and then obviously the death troopers
honestly,
always look awesome in their full black.
Klondike should get an award for just getting one of these shitty Hasbro cloaks to form fit
all right
to a character's head. Like, I mean, a lot of times these cloaks you get with the Hasbro figures, the hoods are sewn like KKK hoods. I mean, they literally have like the dunce cap point coming off. So the fact that he even got that shit in, maybe did a little stitch work, or maybe Ponda's gorge just big enough it actually fills out the fucking hood. But yeah, this is a part of, if you head out to @Klondike Studios on IG, I think this is a part of a greater story, Nick. I think there was a shot that preceded this one. I'll just open up the page now.
Let's see. There is
it's
a
like
shot
they're like shaking them down here. All
in.
right, so look at this. We got Joe was writing a little bit of a what if story. So it is still Ponda Baba. He's hiding out from the Empire, and us as the viewers, the consumers of the content, we're not sure if he's on the run from Imperials or if he's just kind of doing his own thing. So it's one of these little story shots that we get. I went the wrong way. That's in the Klondike's G.I. Joe shit. There we go. There it is again. So, it's a cool little story setup. It's one of those deals where, it's not a portrait, not an action shot, but it's a scene more than just a shot, if that makes sense. And
we also know from just the brief encounter between Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba and Obi and Luke that they're wanted criminals. So it's not
for
surprising
sure. I mean,
to see him being arrested now.
I haven't talked about much, but in the Han Solo and Chewbacca comic book run, Ponda and the Doc kind of play a major role in what Chewbacca gets into. So yeah, I mean these are characters that pop up here and there, got their reps. So yeah, it's a good little story shot from @Klondike Studios on Instagram.
Indeed, good stuff. Next up is @PaulBrown12. And Paul Brown gives us a fantastic action shot here of Mr. Blue Boy himself, Cad Bane, in the middle of a shootout. Oh, yeah. And I just love the background setup. You see he's kind of it almost looks like he's fighting in a shelled out building because you can see destroyed walls in the background.
War torn for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely in the middle of some sort of massive battle. Both blasters firing off, getting some cover behind this little box here. I just thought it was a very well executed action shot here of our boy Cad Bane from Paul Brown 12.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm always going to like a practical shot, an outdoor shot. Looks like this is outdoor. That's kind of where I started and should get back to at some point in time, but I'm being lazy these days. And when I get motivated, that's going to be portrait time in front of a computer screen. So don't hate me. But it just, Paul's got, the light there to kind of pop that smoke around Cad where, the incoming fire is hitting off of his cover. Good little blaster effects. It looks like Paul folded in there. And actually, I think I read the caption. Apparently, Paul, @PaulBrown12, is taking his first foray into Photoshop. So it looks like
there you go.
Shots are going to be getting a little spicier moving on. And if you couldn't tell people... Awesome. We here at the Star Wars Time Show are intimately familiar with those who share with us. I mean, I'm telling you what people are doing in their free time, essentially. So we're here to serve. It's okay to every once in a while help your bros out. A little free promo. A little, hey, I endorse these two idiots. Stuff like that. Okay. Little back scratching.
Sure.
We all serve each other here. We're all serving each other here.
We try to help out the whole community, not just.
Is that it, my friend? Have we covered him with Paul Brown 12 there?
One more.
Oh, we got one more. Okay.
One more. And this is actually the shot itself is awesome, but it was also just a very cool custom. Essentially Headless Horseman Boba Fett figure from @Avalanche __customs. and it's a bit of, so there's 4 or 5 images here, and you roll through them, and it just looks really cool. So what you see is essentially like a blacked out Boba Fett that has a custom jack-o'-lantern head.
Nick? I too thought this was the black Boba Fett figure, but on one of the closer shots, I think this is a scout trooper, in fact. A scout trooper body.
Of the utility belt. Yeah, because you see next to it, he he does. He showed the previous shot you see on Avalanche Customs page is the scout trooper. And then the next shot, that's what it is the one.
Oh shit! I just lost power. So good thing we're. It's back. It's back. It's back. It's back.
Okay. I was there. I can still hear you. But I think like the custom job was really cool, and also just the sequence of shots that Avalanche Customs uses to like show you this custom. Specifically the 4th one where he's holding this fucking gnarly ass axe, has the jack-o'-lantern head on, and you see like the dismembered body of a scout trooper on the ground next to him. I just thought it was awesome. And the fully blacked out speeder bike too. I mean, I just thought that this was an awesome custom job here by Avalanche Customs.
Jesus. Like if your power goes completely off, like some of your devices just start firing up. So right now it's like I got a dehumidifier going, the furnace clicked on, my TV's just clicked on. It's like, holy shit, we're all dying here. So it looks like I'm the asshole that first identified this as Boba, because in the caption I said cool custom headless Boba. No, this is that Shadow Scout Trooper, as Jason, aka Work More or Less, is reminding me in the live stream chat. If you're new here, like I said, live stream 2:30 p East, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. Come join in on the fun. Why not? It's not like you got to work or do anything productive during the midday. So come hang out. But yeah, I mean, it's just a great, Ichabod trooper crane, whatever you want to say. It worked well, kind of mashing this pumpkin head with a cape onto a Shadow Scout Trooper body.
Indeed. So good stuff there at Avalanche __ customs on Instagram. Make sure to give them a follow. That's the end of the top 5. That's the end of the show. Whoever requested a 3-hour-long show, you got it.
You got it.
So, Matt, take us home.
Well, Nick, and when Nick says that, you know what that means? He's expecting payment. So
payment.
He takes Venmo. He takes crypto. You name it. Spender. He's got the Spender app. He's ready to rock. Unload. All right, my friends, it was fun. We'll probably be back to our usual 2.5-hour runtime next week. I don't think we're getting any triple dipple drops anymore. We got how many more early Wednesdays do I got? We got episode 9, 10, 11, 12. 11? Yes, I still have enough fingers to count that high. 4 more to go. So here we go. Episode 9 coming tomorrow. Make sure if you're a Looney Tune like myself, I will probably have my first impression piece on Andor episode 9 posted to YouTube around 8:30-ish, 8:45 East in the morning, with the review to follow. So make sure to tune in. And if you don't know how to tune in, well, that's why I am here to tell you about StarWarsTime.net, where you can find everything you need to find about the Star Wars Time show. So head on over after the show, or just after you heard it, just check it out, StarWarsTime.net. You can find our YouTube channel. You can find all the podcast platforms to sub up to. And don't forget, the best way you can help us out and show your appreciation for what we do is to like, comment, rate, review, and share on all platforms. So if you're listening to this now on the live stream, go ahead and take the 2 seconds and 0 energy to like it, maybe even leave a comment if it lets you on a mobile, and sub up if you're not already. Turn on those notifications. If you're on a podcast platform and you're hearing this message, hopefully you haven't tuned out by now, but we would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review if your podcast platform allows you. I really can't state how important the feedback is to the machines. Like, we get it. We love hearing the feedback as humans, even though we don't get enough. Even I would even take bad stuff. We don't really even get that. So send emails for that. But to help us out, to help out the show, to help out the YouTube channel, you got to keep telling the machines that there's some worthy material here. So on YouTube, that's liking, commenting, sharing, all that fun stuff. On the podcast platform, same deal. If they allow you to rate and review, please do it. I don't think we've had any review movement on iTunes this year, so let's try to get that number up. Let's get it to where when you type in
at least one,
best Star Wars podcast, we actually show up in the first group of icons in iTunes, not down the row, because I know we're better than some of these motherfuckers that get top billing, but they get top billing because they've convinced their lemmings to do the rate and review. You'll see it. I'm not lying. We might have 40. These sites they'll have in the hundreds. It speaks volumes. You always say, hey, why didn't you go to Celebration? Why aren't you covering this? Why didn't you get that? Why didn't you get that? Well, it's easy. We need the following.
We don't get free shit.
Yeah. No following, no free. It's not that hard to figure out. So just keep it going. We're here. We're not going to leave you. We might miss a show a year. That's how dedicated we are. So don't forget, there's always time for Star Wars Time. StarWarsTime.net. Hit it up. Check it out. Get linked in. All right, my friends. You all know, if you're listening, you know the trick. You know the secret. And that is, if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you. Always.